Welcome back to another UCL Fantasy Deadline stream, this time out of Matchday 9. So we are approaching the knockout phase playoffs, so we get a 5 million increase to our budget. We also have unlimited transfers, and we can pick 4 players from the same club. There are a lot of rule changes there, but it was made very clear throughout all of my content, and I'll try to remind as many people as possible throughout the duration of this stream. And if we do hit the Super Chat goal, then I'll be going live for even longer, answering even more questions and even talking about things beyond the Champions League. But we do have one early kickoff today between Galatasaray and Juventus, so when those lineups are confirmed, I will show them to you and also highlight some predictions for the other games for the Tuesday and the Wednesday, and highlighting suspended players and making a few corrections to things I said beforehand. And the same goes for injuries and new updates and stuff, because we could see Inter Milan, for example, rotate very heavily tomorrow against Bodo Glimt. So that's where this deadline stream will be very useful, and it will be a sort of hub for all your last minute decisions and also ensuring you have the best possible team for the knockout phase playoffs. You do get 2 free transfers for match day 10 for the second leg in essence, and then we get unlimited transfers once more for match day 11 as we approach the round of 16 in March. Be sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell. We're making big strides towards new goals like 39k on YouTube, and 40,000 will be the next big objective on the channel. Let's also grow the social media platforms in the description: Twitter, Instagram, Blue Sky, my Discord server. That is a great community to be a part of, and it keeps the conversation going even longer. And there's also my Patreon and the championships if you want to support the channel even further. And there's also my Discord and, well, I'm just saying that again, am I? I'm talking about my bloody Spotify. You can leave a 5-star review there as well. It would be greatly appreciated too. But let's get into your questions. Just before I sort of talk about all the intricacies and all the bits of news I've got, it is worth highlighting that what you see on screen is what I talked about in my first draft video from yesterday. It was another triple upload for UCL Fantasy, but I am looking to make several changes. Dembele is currently flagged, but there are some positive updates on him. I'm more concerned about DeMarco and some of those Inter assets who could be benched, and I'll talk about that very soon. So let's get into your questions first and foremost. Hopefully this is going smoothly. I think there might be an issue with the internet here, so apologies for that. Once it's sorted, I can actually read out your questions. That'd be quite handy. So yeah, I think it's an internet issue. I think it's just probably the time of day. And yeah, I was doing a few tests beforehand. It was running quite smoothly, but yeah, it's acting up a little bit here, so I'll try my best to navigate it. But yeah, it's not looking good at the moment. I'll have another look elsewhere. Let's see. So let's see if I can finally get the questions up. So apologies for that little delay. And yeah, hopefully it does ease up afterwards, but there's not really much I can do at the moment. So the first question is by Easy, or maybe statement. I'll make an early transfer squad today. Kind of busy lately with my other side of the family members coming through. Well, enjoy your time with them, Easy. And yeah, it's becoming a common theme, I guess, in FPL and UCL Fantasy. And it's better to be early than sorry, I guess, in this context. And unless you're going for some Juventus or Galatasaray players, you're not really going to miss out on too much. But there are some rumours that Openda will be on the bench and McKennie could play up front for Juventus. There are some predicted lineups there that suggest that. Will Dembele start? Yes, I believe so. That's why he's still in my team. And unless I see reliable sources indicating otherwise, I think Dembele is good to go for my UCL Fantasy team. My back 5 is DeMarco, Grimaldo, Trent, Hakimi, Mendes. Could you recommend me a goalkeeper pairing, please? Much appreciated, and thank you so much. So I think Courtois on the Tuesday, just by default, he is the most likely to keep one clean sheet over both legs. On the Wednesday, it's more difficult. So you've got Sommer and Nick Pope. So I'd pick one of those 2 goalkeepers. And since you've already got DeMarco in there, who could be benched, by the way, based on the reports I saw over the last day or so, I'd probably... Well, you got no Newcastle anyway, to be fair. But I think I'd go for Pope and Courtois in your situation. Just bear in mind, if you really want Inter Milan defensive coverage, then what I'd probably suggest in that case is replacing Trent with Bastoni, who looks likely to start tomorrow. But in terms of the other sort of main assets there, even Bisek, it's not looking too good. And Hakan Çalhanoğlu was supposed to start for Inter in the midfield, but he's not in the squad. The same goes for Frattesi. So, yeah, just expect a lot of mass rotation there from Inter Milan. Kind of forgot about the playoffs as easy. Well, we are here, and I've been building it up for several weeks now. And yeah, at least you know before the deadline. That's the most important thing. There's still time to lock in your squads and make those final transfers. Zodiac says, hello, Dylan and chat. Always a pleasure. Yeah, exactly that easy. Unlimited transfers in Matchday 9 and 11. But then again, I did highlight that earlier. Did this guy steal my team? Well, that's not really true, is it? If you got Stankovic, I don't have him. But he is a good option. And I think for Club Brugge, he is the best asset they have, even though Vanaken's also pretty handy. But yeah, Stankovic has been brilliant over the last 2 match days. And I think Club Brugge could win the first leg. So I think that's a decent one. Dembele is fit. And it's just a question of, is he fit enough to start, let's say? He will definitely be in the squad. But yeah, I think he will be in there. Dan Burn is fit. There haven't been any concerns about Dan Burn being fit or not since Matchday 8 for the last deadline. So yeah, that's not really an issue. Harrison James says, big ups, Dylan. Hope you're well. Thoughts on Rice and Svensson, or go Badshot and double up on PSG defence? I'm also looking at Ben Sabani for Dortmund, but he is 1 yellow card away from suspension. But it's worth noting, for those that watched the team selection video yesterday, both Ryerson and Svensson are available, so they will feature in Matchday 9. Ryerson is the in-form Dortmund defender, while Svensson hasn't been particularly great recently, but both of them will be in that game against Atalanta tomorrow, and I think Ryerson is the better pick because of his recent form. Thoughts on my Club Brugge link: Stankovic, Ordonez, Kusunu and Lang? Well, Kusunu's from Atalanta, and there are rumours that he could be benched. I saw one lineup that had Kusunu not starting. Noah Lang, well, I'm guessing you know that, by the way, with the last 2 players, but yeah, Noah Lang isn't too shabby. I think for Galatasaray, it's probably Osimhen or their goalkeeper. Those are the 2 best options they have to offer, but in the midfield, I'd be more tempted by Noah Lang than Yilmaz and all these other options they've got. But yeah, I think Stankovic Ordonez isn't too shabby. The better pick out of the 2 in isolation is Stankovic. So yeah, MT just keeps saying maybe. I'm not sure what you're getting at there. Does not matter, just pick a goalie on Tuesday and one on the Wednesday. That is true. And yes, we are back, Oogie Boogie. Always a pleasure as well. I got Di Gregorio on Pope. There is a chance that Perrin starts, but you're going to get the lineup anyway, so you can react to that information in 30 to 40 minutes time. But I'm not too bullish on the Juve defence. If there was one option I'd go for, is probably Kelly, but I understand why you're going for Di Gregorio. I personally don't have great history of him in UCL Fantasy, but I promise that doesn't influence my decision-making and rationale. I just think that Courtois is a more reliable goalkeeper for the Tuesday, and with that increase to our budget, it makes it plausible to have 2 expensive goalkeepers like Sommer and Courtois as a goalkeeper pairing. And as MD said, and also myself earlier, all you have to do really with your goalkeepers is make sure that one of them plays on the Tuesday and one on the Wednesday. Thank you, Morgas. And yeah, the music is from my cousin. Very good music. I've been using it for a while now. Hey, Dylan, hope you're doing well. Which 2 should I get between Nemecha, Vitinha, Due, Yildiz? I've seen multiple lineups which indicate that Due will not start. So Vitinha would be the best option by far. I would probably lean towards Nemecha there, but Yildiz is still decent, and another differential for you is McKennie, who is showing great form for Juventus over the last couple of matches, and he has returned in the last 4 Champions League games as well. Yeah, a lot of people have a lot of money in the bank, that's for sure, and I'm one of them, to be fair. So yeah, Dembele should start. I've said that a few times in this stream already. Good to see you, Julian. Best PSG quadruple up? Well, for me, it would be Dembele, Vitinha, Nuno Mendes, and then one of Kvaratskhelia or probably Hakimi, but I still like Bacho a lot, to be fair. I wouldn't be going for Due, personally. I don't think he's going to start based on what I've read. And yeah, I think with the others, it's probably self-explanatory, right? But it's quite difficult separating 3rd to 6th in that PSG list. I think they're all great options in their own right, but I'm leaning towards Kvaratskhelia at the moment. Yeah, Mendes is 1 yellow card away from suspension. That is true. Surely Enrique tells him to get a yellow today, so he'll miss the 2nd leg and be back for the round of 16. It's possible. We saw that with Declan Rice. before the Kara Almaty game. I think it makes a lot of sense to do that sort of thing, but yeah, it also depends on context, right? If PSG are losing or they're not winning the game, then I think the mindset changes a little bit. But if they're winning comfortably already, then maybe Nuno Mendes gets a yellow. That's a good point. I have Trent too, says Julian. Fair enough. I'm not going to go for Trent myself, but as Morgs says, or Morgas, Trent is a spicy pick. Yes, I think so as well. I have a feeling that Atletico are going to lose tomorrow. I think Club Brugge can win, but I still think Lookman is worth the investment over both legs. That's why he's in my squad, but in terms of doubling or tripling up on Atletico, probably not for me. Ahmad says, hey Dylan, Burn is flagged as injured. Okay, so maybe there is an update, to be fair, that I haven't seen. So I'll have a look at that very shortly. Let's see if I can find that piece of news. And then I can probably just go through the rest that I've got already for you. But I was thinking of replacing Burn with Chow, actually. That's one of the changes that could be made. I don't see anything here. I made a big mistake actually typing Burn injury on Twitter. I'm not getting the search results that I actually want. Dan Burn is what I should be looking for. But yeah, I'm not sure where this is coming from. Yeah, so I'll have a look. But yeah, that would be quite surprising. Let's see if I can get that as well. Well, Dan Burn isn't flagged on the website, and I haven't seen any bits of information that suggest that he's going to be out. So another PSG potential lineup, by the way. Yeah, it has Doué on the bench, Safonov in goal, Hakimi, Marquinhos, Bacho, Nuno Mendes, Zaire Emery, Vitinha, João Neves, Kvaratskhelia, Dembele, and Barcola. But let's go through the different pieces of news now. I think that's probably worth going for. But thank you, Ahmad, for the super chat, and I'll have a look at the app fairly soon as well, and hopefully we can clarify that. But as things stand, I haven't seen anything on Burn being injured. Okay, so if you haven't done so already, you can join my mini league. And I should probably have... Yeah, let's do this actually. Let's go to Champions League website. Let's invite you to the mini league. Just for those that haven't joined yet. So, a big up to those, by the way, near the top. Some creative names in there, but yeah, some really high performers throughout the league phase and right up there in the world rankings. But this is going to be the code. It's very easy to join, SEINOF. There is an auto-join link in the description, which makes it even easier to become a part of one of the biggest mini leagues in the world. And with Predict 6, I'll get back to this soon, I hope. Galatasaray 1, Juventus 1, Benfica 1, Real Madrid 2, Monaco 1, Paris Saint-Germain 3, and Karabakh 0, Newcastle 2, but I'm open to changing that as well. I might also look at quiz later, especially after the deadline has passed, and I've played a few of them today, and it's quite an interesting game to say the least, with a lot of potential. With a poll I put out on my channel, I've got Alvarez. Well, I don't have Alvarez. You have voted for Alvarez as the sort of best forward of these four options, so I've kind of excluded Mbappe and Dembele from this list, but Alvarez does lead the vote. Lautaro Martinez is second, so the two Argentines are the sort of favourites here. Guirassy is third, and Osimhen is fourth. But in terms of the home and away dynamic, I think the likes of Guirassy and Osimhen could be key in Matchday 9, and you can invest in one of them first and foremost, and then make the switch to either Lautaro or Alvarez for Matchday 10. So this is where there's a lot of information, so bear with me. This was one Juventus predicted lineup with Openda up front, but there have been some updates, and that includes Openda dropping to the bench, and we could see this starting 11 for Juventus. Di Gregorio in goal, Kalulu, Bremer, Kelly, and Gambiaso. Coop Miners, Locatelli, Thuram, Conceição, McKennie, and Yildiz. And my favourite options from Juventus would be McKennie, Yildiz, and Kelly. Kelly? Twice? Really? McKennie, I should say. The thing is with McKennie playing up front, I'm not entirely sure about that. He's done a great job in the midfield over the past couple of matches, but that does boost his appeal on paper, that's for sure, and it's definitely worth mentioning. But yeah, I think that will be the likely Juventus lineup with McKennie up front. So this is the Monaco squad. So Ansu Fati and Carrere are out against Paris Saint-Germain. That is confirmed, but Akliuch is in the squad after sustaining an injury on Friday, so that is a partial boost there. And there are multiple posts I've seen about Ousmane Dembele, and this was one of them from yesterday. Dembele had good sensations this evening when returning to the hotel. He tested himself well during the pre-match training session at the Louis II Stadium. Dembele will start in the away leg of the playoff against Monaco unless Luis Enrique doesn't want to, according to RMC Sport. So that is very positive. And this is from another journalist. Dembele had good sensations, and the Frenchman is set to start in the first leg against AS Monaco unless Enrique makes the decision to avoid this. Now, Dembele will start, it looks like, but Doué could be on the bench, and a lot of predicted lineups suggest this as well. And this is going to be one of them, and I did highlight a lineup earlier, which is the exact same as this one, no changes whatsoever. A lot of them are in agreement that it will be Barcola, Dembele, and Kvaratskhelia up front. The same goes for this one, pretty much the exact same as well, and not too many surprises there, but it's going to be a tough decision to leave out the out-of-form Doué, who still has a lot of potential, of course, as we've seen over the years. And for Kylian Mbappe, he was in training today. He got a full rest on Saturday in a 4-1 win over Real Sociedad, where Vinicius Jr. scored 2 penalties. So this is Borussia Dortmund's probable lineup against Atalanta. Kobel, Ryerson, Anton, Bensebaini, Kuto, Sabitzer, Nemecha, Svensson, Bayer, Brandt, and Guirassy. For Inter Milan, this is where things get very interesting for tomorrow. So Chivu is apparently preparing for major rotation to face Bodo Glimt in the first leg of the knockout phase playoffs. So Thuram and Boni could start up front together, whilst Borrell and Çalhanoğlu, well, this is a bit out of date here because, as I mentioned earlier, Çalhanoğlu is not in the squad. So who will take his place? Reportedly, it will be Zielinski from Poland, so that would be a good replacement there for him. Carlos Augusto and Diouf will start on the flanks, and the back three will be either Acerbi or De Vrij in the middle, accompanied by Darmian and Bastoni, and that's why I'm quite keen to have either Sommer or Bastoni in my final 15-man squad, but that means no DeMarco and no Lautaro Martinez if Sky Sports Italia are correct here. And this also provides you more updates on Inter Milan, so Bastoni will be part of the starting lineup despite recent turmoil, and then one of Acerbi or De Vrij, as mentioned in the previous post, will be in that lineup. Çalhanoğlu was initially expected to start in the midfield, but he is not going to be at Chivu's disposal tomorrow, and therefore Zielinski will replace him in the midfield, and pretty much the same names on the flanks there. Carlos Augusto would start over DeMarco, and there is still a possibility for Lautaro Martinez to start, by the way. I think the forward line is less clear, but with DeMarco, many reports suggest he is in much need of a rest, and you'll get that in Matchday 9. So this is a big decision to make, I think, in terms of do we still keep DeMarco for Matchday 10, or do we just replace him with Bastoni, for example? And whilst I get both strategies, I'm leaning more towards keeping DeMarco because I'd want to save that transfer for Matchday 10 if possible, especially if you're going for a striker like Guirassy or Osimhen up front. But I'm still open-minded, and over the next hour or so, I'll start to lock things in for sure. But yeah, I think DeMarco is worth keeping with Matchday 10 in mind. So that's pretty much it. I will go through predicted lineups now, and then some updated graphics so you can see my thinking, which also has these bits of news reflected in terms of some updates and potential changes in my 50-man squad. But the Galatasaray Juventus, I'll only go through it once because we're going to get the official lineup in 20 minutes time. So Çakır in goal, Sasha Bowie, Sanchez, Bardakci, El Mali, Torreira, Sara, Sane, Akgun, Yilmaz and Osimhen, with Lemina, who is suspended, which was covered in yesterday's team selection. And there are 3 doubts in terms of suspension risks: Jacobs, Noah Lang and Sanchez. So as you can see here, Noah Lang isn't expected to start there, so that's worth bearing in mind. For Juventus, I went through a few lineups earlier, and it is identical, but I think Miretti is the probable doubt there, and we could see Openda drop to the bench, so I think Cup Miners will start in the midfield. For Monaco against Paris Saint-Germain, there is Kun, Vanderson, Fass, Carrere, and to be fair, I think that has changed now. So it's worth mentioning that Carrere will not play. He is not in the squad to play against his former club. Kaya Enrique, Kamara, Sakaria, Adingra, Golovin, Koulibaly, and Balogun. So in terms of the players who are out, for Juventus is Jonathan David, Home, and Vlahovic. Thuram is doubtful. Cabal, Cambiaso, Home, Kelly, and Locatelli are suspension risks. So that does reduce Kelly's appeal quite significantly as well. And a lot of these defenders are actually one yellow card away from suspension. So for Monaco, Cabral, Dyer, Hradecky, and Mawissa are out, whilst Akliuch, Kamara, and Fati are doubtful, but now it has been confirmed that Fati will not play against Paris Saint-Germain with the full squad list posted by Monaco earlier. And in terms of suspension risk, there's Kamara, Golovin, and Carrere. For PSG, Fabian Ruiz, Mayulu, and Njantu are out. Dembele is doubtful, and Nuno Mendes is one yellow card away from suspension. One booking, whatever you want to say. For Benfica, Real Madrid, Trubin, Dedic, Otamendi, Araujo, Dahl, Arsenes, Barreiro, Brestiani, Sudakov, Shrilerup, and Pavlidis, and yes, I butchered that name, I'll go back to that at one stage. Jonathan Barr and Tome are out, with the latter being suspended. There are no doubtful players, whilst Dahl, Lukebakio, and Otamendi are one booking away from suspension. For Real Madrid, we could see Courtois, Trent, Rudiger, Hausen, Carreras, Valverde, Arda Güler, Tchouaméni, Camavinga, Mbappe, and Vinicius start. Raul Asensio and Rodrigo are suspended, whilst Bellingham and Eder Militao are injured. And in terms of suspension risk, there's Bellingham, Carreras, Hausen, and Tchouaméni. And then for Dortmund-Atalanta, the last game of the Tuesday, Kobel, Ryerson, Anton, Bensabani, Svensson, Nemecha, Bellingham, Sabitzer, Fabio Silva, Brun, and Garassi. So there are 3 players missing in Emre Can, Schlotterbeck, and Sula, which was covered yesterday. Mane is doubtful, whilst Adiemi and Bensabani are suspension risks. For Atalanta, we could see Kanaseki, Scalvini, Jim City, Ahano, Sapacosta, Darun, Edison, Bernasconi, Smardzic, Zalewski, or Zalewski. Gee, I need to improve with that one. And Skamaka. So De Ketelaere is out. He had surgery recently. He will miss the next 5 to 6 weeks with a knee problem. Raspadori is also out, whilst Darun and Musa will miss the next game if booked. So let's go to the Wednesday games quickly. And I will provide a link as well so you can have a look. This is very useful to have all these bits of information provided. But yeah, it's worth highlighting again that Svensson and Ryerson are available. They are not suspended, as I alluded to yesterday. So for Karabag, we could see Kokalski, Silva, Mustafautse, Medina. These are not easy names, by the way. Jafar Gulev, Bicalo, Jankovic, Andrade, Montiel, Zubair, and Duran. So there are 2 suspension risks in Jankovic, well, 3 I should say, I can't even count at this point, Medina and Silva. For Newcastle, Pope, Trippier, Chow, Byrne, Hall, Willock, Tonali, Ramsey, Alanga, Gordon, and Barnes. So Bruno Guimaraes is confirmed out. The same goes for Livramento and Fabian Schär. Botman, Joelinton, Lewis Miley, and Visser are doubtful. And the likes of Byrne, Chow, and Joelinton are suspension risks. So when it comes to picking between Byrne and Chow, I think it's very close, but Byrne does offer more points per match day. He missed the win against PSV Eindhoven, and he is still comfortably ahead of any Newcastle player. And yeah, Chow is a good alternative, better for ball recoveries, but Byrne has offered more attacking threat in the Champions League this season. But it has been a different story in the Premier League, by the way, and that's where maybe Chow is due a goal in this competition. So for Olympiacos versus Leverkusen, there is Zolakis, Costinha, Restos, Pirola, Ortega, Hez, Garcia, Rodney, Chiquinho, Gelson Martins, Taremi. No doubtful players and no unavailable options there for the Greek side, but Dani Garcia, Heze, and Taremi are suspension risks. For the away team, Blazwicz, Kwanzaa, Andrik, Tapsoba, Lucas Vasquez, Garcia, Fernandez, Grimaldo, Tillman, Poku, and Schick should start, with Mensah suspended and Kofane as the only potential suspension risk. For Bodo Glimt, we could see Haikin, who has the most saves of any goalkeeper this season with 49 in the Champions League, Jovold, Bjortoft, Gunderson, Bjorkan, Evgen, Berg, Brunstad Fett, Blomberg, Ho, Hauge? Yeah, I think Hauge. No players are out and no doubtful options there, whilst Auckland and Berg are one booking away from suspension. For Inter Milan, Yeah, we could see quite a few changes from this predicted lineup, to be fair. But let's see if Sky Sports Italia are right again. So Sommer, Akanji, Acerbi, Bastoni, Luis Enrique, Barella, Zielinski, Sucic, DeMarco, Lautaro Martinez, and Thuram. Dumfries is out. The same goes for Fratesi and Kalanoglu. There are no doubtful players, whilst Acerbi, Bastoni, Lautaro Martinez, and Mkhitaryan will miss the next game if booked. So it's not an ideal situation covering Inter Milan defensively because DeMarco is by far the best on paper, but he could be rested in matchday 9 according to reports. You've got Jan Sommer in goal, but then Bisek, for example, might not even start. The same goes for Akanji. Acerbi would be a matchday 9 only punt, and even then, it could be De Vrij starting over him instead. So it's just not really going to be a great position to cover their defence this week, and I think Bodo Glimt could score in matchday 9 anyway. For the final fixture, Club Brugge against Atletico Madrid, there is Mignolet, Sabi, Ordonez, Miceli, Seis, Stankovic, Vanaken, Onyedika, Carlos Forbes, Vermaat, and Zolis. So Rees is out due to illness, and Van den Heuvel has a leg injury. In terms of doubtful players, Aldur, Sandra, and Spielers, who is ill. So that means those 3 players are doubtful, whilst Onyedika and Vanaken will miss the next game if booked. And for Atletico Madrid, there's Oblak, Lorente, Bubil, Hanko, Ruggeri, Simeone, Cardoso, Koke, Lookman, Griezmann, and Julian Alvarez, with Barrios and Nico Gonzalez out. And in terms of suspension risk, Atletico have plenty with Thiago Almada, Barrios, Lenormand, Lenglet, and Simeone. Yeah, runs in the family, you could say. Good old Diego Simeone and Giuliano as well. So that's extensive coverage there. I'm going to put this link in the live chat now. Be sure to drop a like as well. There's plenty more headed your way with graphics. I've even got clean sheet odds now for you, which are going to be very useful indeed. So make sure to show support to the channel and share. Also click the hype button, subscribe, and check out the links in the description. My UCL Fantasy League, Discord, Twitter, Instagram, and Blue Sky. So before I go back to your questions and keep the interaction going, let me show you some changes to the team selection graphics from yesterday. I won't talk too much about Matchday 8, not just because I didn't do particularly great, I should say, but also because I've done it already in 2 videos, so it's not really worth hashing over that again. But yeah, it wasn't a great week for me. Only a handful of players delivered, and taking a -8 hit, including a goalkeeper, was always going to be a tricky task. But Matchday is over with, and now it's about building the best possible team for the knockout phase playoffs using unlimited transfers, and that's what I'm going to do in this section. One of these goalkeepers will be my Wednesday option, either Sommer or Nick Pope. I haven't fully decided yet, but at the moment, I am leaning towards Nick Pope ever so slightly. And I think with Sommer, his appeal hasn't really increased with all these potential rotation options in that Inter Milan team. And he might be the standout way to cover their defense. But I also think their clean sheet odds would be actually reduced with those changes. Now, Bacho to Hakimi is also on the cards, but I'll be honest with you, I might end up going for neither of them and instead focus on a PSG midfielder, and that wouldn't be Doué, but instead Kvaratskhelia, who would replace Kalanoglu, who will not feature in Matchday 9. As for the third forward, I am quite stuck on it, to be quite honest with you. There is Julian Alvarez, Lautaro Martinez, Guirassy, and Osimhen, so picking one of those 4 is extremely tough, and I'm quite bullish on Dembele, who is still flagged in UCL Fantasy, but I think he's going to start in Matchday 9. As I showed you towards the beginning of the stream, multiple sources point towards Dembele in the lineup with Doué dropped to the bench. So that's why it's going to be Mbappe, Dembele, and then one of these 2 strikers or an Argentine like Lautaro Martinez or Julian Alvarez as my final striker. So let me know your thoughts in the live chat. Which forward are you going for Matchday 9 and 10? I think booking in a move is also plausible, but my Tuesday goalkeeper will likely be Courtois. I don't see that changing anytime soon, and I don't need to cover Real Madrid in any other way defensively. There is Trent, who offers that set-piece threat, but we haven't really seen that in a Real Madrid shirt, and Courtois has the saves potential and the high ceiling for a goalkeeper. With my 3 defenders, it could be Bastoni, but there are some problems in the defensive line because DeMarco, who I was so bullish about all week, he could be benched. He has 9 goal contributions in the last 5 matches across all competitions, 2 goals and 7 assists, but you've got Bastoni and Nuno Mendes in here, who are both 1 yellow card away from suspension, and this doesn't reset until the semi-finals, essentially. Grimaldo, though, has no suspension risk, and I think with Leverkusen, they lost 2-0 against Olympiacos in the league phase, but I still think with the amount of routes to points that Grimaldo has, I'm still quite happy with him as a UCL fantasy pick. The same goes for Kvaratskhelia, Vitinha, Vinicius, and Lookman. I think these four, alongside Gordon, are the best midfielders in UCL fantasy for the knockout phase playoffs. And up front, I'm quite bullish on Dembele and Mbappe, but with the rest, yeah, it's very difficult separating them. But my current plan is to potentially go for Guirassy and then switch him to either Lautaro or Alvarez in matchday 10. On my bench, I've got Pope, DeMarco, Chow, and Gordon. So that's the provisional team at the moment, but it is subject to change, as I told patrons and channel members earlier today. So keep that also in mind. But with the captaincy, that's where Mbappe would take the armband. And on the Wednesday, if needed, it would be Anthony Gordon as well. But that's all that needs to be said on that front. Let's now go to this section, which was covered in some of my recent videos. So you can see the highest scoring players in every single position. Pope between the sticks, Grimaldo in that defensive line, and Vitinha in the midfield, who's a very template pick. And surprise, surprise, Mbappe has by far the most points up front with 77. That is 31 more than second place Osimhen, who has been brilliant this season. Across all positions, it is a bit closer, but Mbappe is still reigning supreme, and he is probably the best player in world football at the moment with 13 goals in the Champions League this season. So in terms of new signings, Lookman is going to be the best one in the Champions League, but you've also got Noah Lang for Galatasaray. He's on loan from Napoli, and another loan signing for the Turkish side is Sasha Bowie, who should start right back, and he only costs 3.8 million, so he could be a decent differential. In terms of selected absentees, it's worth highlighting that Svensson is available, but the rest is correct, and we should add a few more names to this list, like Fratesi and Kalanoglu. They are out. They will not feature in matchday 9. The same goes for Carrere and Ansu Fati from Monaco. So with the top 10 captains, yeah, I do have Mbappe, Dembele, Gordon, DeMarco, Lookman, Vitinha, Vinicius, Nuno Mendes, Osimhen, and Guirassy. But what I'll try to do for you as well is show you the clean sheet odds. I think I did have them ready. So yeah, if possible, I will show you those. But the website I usually use for those clean sheet odds, they haven't actually updated it, which is a bit of a shame. But yeah, I'm just having a look here and seeing if I can get the clean sheet odds here for you. Yeah, I'll get back to this soon, and I'll provide you a recap on the top 10 captains, but also the clean sheet odds. But remember, when it comes to the armband, you want to pick a Tuesday player first, and I think Mbappe and Dembele will be the standouts today. And then on the Wednesday, whilst there are fewer significant or standout options, you do have some quite consistent players like Gordon in the Champions League at least. He hasn't been great in FPL, but it's a different story in UCL Fantasy this season. So yeah, hopefully that will work then after, and I can show you the clean sheet odds later on. But before I go back to your questions, let's talk about the fixtures. So the early kickoff today is Galatasaray Juventus. We should get their lineups in the next couple of minutes. Dortmund against Atalanta, Benfica against Real Madrid, and Monaco against PSG complete the Tuesday fixtures. So you want to captain one of those players in terms of featuring from those teams, and start all your Tuesday players in your starting 11, and make sure some Wednesday players are on your bench. And that includes Karabag against Newcastle. So once that game starts, the substitution deadline and the window to change your captain will end. You've got Bodo Glimt against Inter Milan, and we could see the away side rotate quite heavily. Club Brugge against Atletico Madrid, and Olympiacos facing Bayer Leverkusen. So what I did in the recent videos is highlight one player from every single club, which isn't easy, and I made a few alterations based on injury updates and team news. For Galatasaray though, nothing has changed. Victor Osimhen is my favourite Galatasaray option, and he is second in terms of forwards when it comes to UCL fantasy points. He also has 2 goals and 1 assist against Juventus throughout his career, and McKennie has been in brilliant form recently. He could also start up front, and we're going to find out very soon if that's the case, so he's a great differential on paper. Pavlidis is my favourite Benfica option, despite Trubin stealing the headlines in Matchday 8. You've also got Otamendi, who is a seasoned veteran and a quality UCL fantasy option. And there's also the player, I butchered his name. Yeah, maybe I shouldn't try it again, but He was one of the highest scoring forwards in Matchday 8. He also got a big return against Real Madrid, but Pavlidis is probably my preference. He was brilliant last season, and whilst he hasn't reached the same heights in this campaign, I still think he's worth considering up front. As for Mbappe, this is kind of simple, but he's the best captaincy option in the game. He should start as well after a full rest over the weekend, and his numbers are simply ridiculous this season, so I wouldn't overcomplicate it there. He has 8 goals in the last 3 matches in the Champions League, but for Monaco, I would consider Adingra. I think he's definitely one to watch. He scored a brace, actually, very recently in his first Monaco start. And against PSG, I wouldn't really be backing their defenders, even though Caio Henrique is a decent UCL fantasy pick in isolation. But I think it will be a high-scoring game across both legs. And PSG haven't really kept that many clean sheets against Monaco recently. Only 1 out of the last 7 matches across all competitions. That's mainly in Ligue 1. Ousmane Dembele, though, has a brilliant record against Monaco. He has never blanked against them in a PSG shirt, and for Dortmund, he faced them in the Champions League, and across both games, he didn't blank and scored and assisted in either match. So I think Dembele is a brilliant choice, and he should start. The same goes for Nemecha, who is definitely one to watch, and he has scored plenty of goals from outside the box with ball recoveries as well, and Dortmund have the home advantage, which is quite rare, I think, for the favourites, so to speak, in the knockout phase playoffs. So I think Nemecha is probably Dortmund's best option, pound for pound, but you've also got Garassi up front. When it comes to Atalanta, I think Carnesecchi would be the standout now. I would have mentioned De Ketelaere, but he is injured for the next 6 weeks, and there's also Kasunu. There are reports and predicted lineups that suggest he could be benched, which would be a surprise, by the way. He has more ball recoveries than any player this season with 65, so if that's the case, I think Carnesecchi would be the best Atalanta option on paper. Next up is Karabag, and Camilo Duran, aka Marquez, would be a solid choice as a budget forward. I don't think you really need such a cheap striker, to be fair, with a 5 million increase to our budget, but just because he's cheaper doesn't mean he's worse, and we have seen real consistency from him this season with 41 UCL fantasy points. Anthony Gordon as well, 6 goals, 3 of them from the penalty spot, and he also has the assist potential. He's on penalties there, of course, for Newcastle, and Player of the Match awards aren't really too hard to come by if he continues in that rich vein of form which he showed throughout the league phase. Next up is going to be from Bodo Glimt, Hauger, who is another budget forward to consider. I think Bodo Glimt have several underrated hidden gems, but he is probably my favourite, and I think with the others, FGen could also be considered, but I think Hauger would take the cake. And DeMarco is my favourite Inter Milan asset, even with the rumours of him being benched tomorrow, but I think for Matchday 10 as well, DeMarco should be in your UCL fantasy teams. If not now for the upcoming deadline, then I definitely would buy him in for the second leg. We are approaching the last couple of games here and this section, but for Club Brugge, Stankovic is my favourite option. He has double-digit hauls in the last 2 match days, and Atletico Madrid are very inconsistent. After beating Barcelona 4-0, where Lookman and Alvarez starred, they ended up losing 3-0 to Rayo Vallecano, and to be fair, they rested a lot of key players, but their performance was still dreadful. Now, Lookman is probably my favourite option in isolation, but I also wanted to highlight Alvarez, who is still a very consistent asset, but I think this season he has been a bit underwhelming, especially since November, and we haven't seen too many big returns from him, but that game against Barcelona showed what he can do at his absolute best. So, from the last fixture, Olympiacos Leverkusen, I think Gelson Martins would be my favourite option from the home side. He's another budget midfielder here to look at, costing 5.1 million, but there is no doubt in my mind. I know you've got Tillman and maybe Patrick Schick up front, but Grimaldo is the best Bayer Leverkusen defender and option by far. You've also got Kwanzaa, Blazwicz as a cheaper goalkeeper, but I think the only way you want to cover their defence is with Grimaldo. With goals, assists, set pieces, player of the match awards, ball recoveries, he's got absolutely everything you want in a defender, and 3 clean sheets in the league phase as well. So, by this point, we should have the lineups. So, I'm going to get them up for you for Juventus and Galatasaray, and then we can provide our thoughts on it. So, yeah, they have been confirmed, and let's see how reliable what we saw earlier actually was. Okay, so for Galatasaray, we do have one maybe surprise you could say. So Chakir is in goal, but Sasha Bowie is on the bench. So there's Shalai, Sanchez, Bardakci, and Jakobs. Torreira, Sara, Yilmaz, Akgun, and Noah Lang does get the nod. Leroy Sané is on the bench, and Osimhen is up front. So you could argue there are two surprises there in the Galatasaray lineup. And for Juventus, as I covered before, McKennie starts up front. He is definitely worth looking at as a 6.1 million midfielder. Di Gregorio is in goal. Cambiaso, Kelly, Bremer, and Kalulu. Koop Miners, Locatelli, Thuram, Yildiz, Conceição, and of course McKennie, who is my favourite Juventus option right now. So yeah, that Sky Sports Italia lineup was absolutely spot on, and they usually are for Inter Milan as well. And they have indicated that DeMarco could be benched tomorrow, so be very mindful about that. But those are the confirmed lineups. Thank you to those that have inevitably pointed out by this stage, but I will get back to your questions now in the next section. So let's whiz through these as well. Keep on liking, subscribing, all that good stuff. And there is another super chat in the building to go through first and foremost, and also 5 memberships by Ahmed. Thank you very much for the generosity and all the contributions towards the channel. Ahmad says, sorry for the scare. I restarted my phone and burn is fine. Just needed a refresh. Yeah, no worries. I just saw some people in the live chat already asking me about, oh, is Dan Burn fit? So that already linked in my mind, and I thought, oh, maybe there is something wrong with him. But just for transparency, I have actually made a sort of sideways switch to Chow. I think Burn in isolation has been better so far this season in UCL Fantasy, but I just like what I've seen from Chow in the Premier League, and I think we could see a goal scored in the Champions League knockout stages or in the knockout phase players from Chow, because he is sort of due a goal in this competition, and he's been very good for ball recoveries. Wasting, I did cover this in depth. Hakan Çalhanoğlu is not available for Inter Milan. He was withdrawn from the squad. The plan was for him to start tomorrow, but he will not play. Stankovic unbiased. No, he's a very good option recently. I think Vanaken's also quite promising, but he's a suspension risk as well. So I think for Club Brugge, Carlos Forbes is interesting, Micheli in the defence, but if I had to pick one player, it would be Stankovic, that's for sure. Yet Noah Lang does start for Galatasaray, and Joelinton is in the squad for Newcastle. Thank you for that, Ali B. And that is a big boost for Newcastle. We definitely need it. Yildiz Street, fair enough. I'm not quite there yet. Good to see you, Order. Let's go. Voltemado or Alvarez? I'd go for Alvarez personally, but I don't think Voltemado's a bad pick with Vissa doubtful, and yeah, I think Voltemado should start. Bensabani is the main penalty taker. The thing is, in a recent match, Garassi did take it, but Bensabani was on the bench. But yeah, he would be on penalties. McKennie does start as a striker. Augusto is superior to DeMarco defensively. Yeah, but DeMarco has 9 goal contributions in the last 5 games. So, yeah, from a fantasy perspective, we'd want DeMarco to start, and I think the ceiling would be way higher. Thoughts on Adeyemi? Not really quite there yet. He has had moments over the last year or so. A hat-trick against Celtic in the last year. But I think for Dortmund, Nemetcha is the best midfielder. You've also got Garassi up front. Those are the two I'd recommend. And defensively, probably Bensabani, even though Ryerson is the informed Dortmund defender. Welcome, Arthur Nice. I would go for Dembele over Lautaro, to be fair, Alessandro. So yeah, people are very intrigued by the McKennie striker role. And thank you to those that pointed this out. Of course, I just went through it, of course. What do you think about Cambiaso as an option? I covered Cambiaso in Club World Cup Fantasy last summer. My favourite defender in isolation is Kelly from Juventus, but he is a suspension risk. So yeah, Cambiaso is not too shabby. I'm not really backing Juventus to keep a clean sheet, especially in Matchday 9, so I'm not going to go there myself, but he's a decent option. Maybe sort of average, maybe. Does sound a bit harsh, but that's just the way I see it. No worries there, Sebastian. If anybody else can reply, I'd appreciate it. DeMarco will not play. So it's not absolutely guaranteed, but several reports indicate, and they're from reliable sources when it comes to Inter Milan, that they will heavily rotate and DeMarco will get a rest. Yeah, what about Stankovic? Good pick, but I don't think I'm going to go there. The only way I'd go for something like that is if I sell Kvaratskhelia to Stankovic and do a move like that, and then go for Hakimi in my defensive line, which is what you currently see on screen, but this was my first draft and several changes have been made, and I'll be locking things in closer to the deadline. But you saw earlier, if you watched the whole way through, I did show you my sort of updated plans and what I'm looking to do. And whilst it's not set in stone, that is very close to my final team because there's always the opportunity or the overthinking gene, you could say, to make one or last two sort of late moves. But that's my current sort of strategy for matchday 9 and 10. I think Dembele will play. I can't guarantee it 100%, but multiple sources have indicated he will start. Desiree Doué is probably the one who'll miss out. Thank you, Weisei. Much appreciated. Is Dembele playing? Yes. So this is going to be a very popular question, I can see. But fair enough. Captain today between Mbappe, Osimhen, Dembele. I'm not going to read out the rest, not going to lie. It's Mbappe for me. If you want to go for something a little bit different, Ousmane Dembele is my preference. You also saw my top 10 captains earlier. And what I'll probably do, hopefully it does work now, is just go through this again. Yeah, okay. Don't go anywhere. Let's go to the clean sheet odds here first. So Newcastle are top against Karabag away. PSG are second facing Monaco, but they've only got one clean sheet out of the last 7 matches against the French side. Juventus are third against Galatasaray away. I'm quite surprised by that, to be honest. Atletico, Inter Milan and Olympiacos complete the top 6 for matchday 9, whilst Monaco are bottom with a 13% probability against PSG at home. But this is my top 10 captaincy list. This will help you with your decisions. Just ensure you have a Tuesday captain first and foremost, and Mbappe is my top recommendation. Dembele second, and for Wednesday it's probably going to be Anthony Gordon from my perspective. But DeMarco was ranked 4th. I might need to lower him a little bit because there are rumours he will be benched against Bodo Glimt tomorrow. But Lookman, Vitinha, Vinicius, Mendes, Osimhen and Guirassy are all solid alternatives. There's also Alvarez and Lautaro Martinez, but I think with the Inter Milan players, rotation is definitely possible. So back to the team, only one doubt in my 50-man squad, and I still have Dembele in my team, by the way, just for the sake of transparency. And yeah, I kept patrons and channel members updated on my squad, and whenever I made changes, I reflected them on those platforms. Thoughts on triple up on Newcastle defence? No, I wouldn't triple up on the defence, to be fair. I think 1, maybe 2 is fine, not a triple up. I think Karabag could score a matchday 9. Why is McKennie striker? Well, Vlahovic and Jonathan David are injured, and the alternative was to start Openda, but I think they want him as a impact sub. Thank you, Sid, for the super chat. Thoughts on Jude? Also, any Bournemouth or Atalanta punts? Jude Bellingham is out. He's injured. He's not in the squad, so he won't play. As for his brother, Joe Bellingham, he's not in the predicted lineup, so I would avoid the Bellinghams for now. Dortmund punts. Well, Guirassy, Nemecha, Ben Sebaini, because he's on penalties. I think a proper punt, though, would be Ryerson because of his recent form. He got a couple of assists in recent matches in the Bundesliga, so yeah, he would be my Dortmund punt. For Atalanta, well, De Ketelaere unfortunately is injured for the next 6 weeks. Kusunu could be benched, which would surprise me, to be honest, but I saw one lineup without him in the 11. I think Karnaseki as a sort of backup goalkeeper is fine. I say backup, he would be your Tuesday option, right? Instead of Courtois, perhaps. So yeah, for Atalanta, it's probably going to be Karnaseki still. He is the best Atalanta option overall. Yeah, that's been covered to death. I'm not going to lie about Dembele. I went through multiple sources at the beginning of the stream, and all of them point towards him starting. Doué is the one who will probably be benched. Alvarez or Osimhen? I think for matchday 9, Osimhen. What if Benfica knock Madrid out? It's possible, but then you can say, what about if Club Brugge beat Atletico or Karabag beat Newcastle? In my opinion, Real Madrid will go through. Thoughts on Pavlidis? He was highlighted as my favourite Benfica option. He scored against Real Madrid in matchday 8, but I wouldn't go for him over Osimhen, Alvarez, Guirassy, Lautaro Martinez, Mbappe, Dembele, etc. Dembele had discomfort recently, but he trained yesterday, he felt fine, and he should start. I'm not worried about Dembele at all. Dembele should start, mate. Yeah. I'll try to avoid Dembele questions for the time being, just for the sake of repetition. Change Kusunu for Scalvini. Just to be very clear about this, I'm not saying Kusunu will be benched. All I'm saying is that I saw one predicted lineup where he wasn't in the team. It would surprise me, but stranger things have happened. Lautaro or Alvarez? If I knew Lautaro started, then I'd probably go for him, but I think Inter Milan are very difficult to predict, especially up front. With DeMarco, for example, I think he won't start. but it could be Thuram or Lautaro. I think one of them could be dropped for Pio Esposito. And yeah, we could even see another change there as well, like Bonnie in the forward line. Yeah, no Sasha Bowie starting. That's worth mentioning. Would you go for Yildiz or Vinicius Jr.? Vinicius. That's been very consistent across all my content. Kenan Yildiz or Kvaratskhelia? Kvaratskhelia. Guirassy or Osimhen? I am leaning towards Guirassy at the moment, and he has been awful for me in UCL Fantasy, but probably him. McKennie or Lookman? McKennie's been in great form. I'm very tempted by him, but I'm going to say Lookman across both legs. I think for Matchday 9 only, McKennie looks decent. But yeah, probably Lookman. Yeah, maybe I'm wrong about saying that there are two surprises in the Galatasaray lineup, but in most of them that I saw, Sane was on the left and Sasha Bowie as the right back, but instead, both former Bayern Munich players are on the bench, and technically Sasha Bowie is still a Bayern player, but we'll talk about that next season. My question is, would you pick Trent Cambiasso? Since Dortmund is missing 4 defenders, would you pick an Atalanta attacker like Scamacca? I just don't really like Scamacca in comparison to the other forwards, but you make a very good point, and that's where the differential aspect of it comes into play, because I think it's worth targeting something different, because a lot of our teams will be very similar at this stage of the competition. As for Yildiz or McKennie, based on recent form, I'd go for McKennie. And I'm not even that bullish on him as a striker and saying, wow, this is amazing. It could be, but I think McKennie is a good option regardless. Ball recoveries, goals, assists. He's got the full package at the moment, and I think he can add some more goal contributions in Matchday 8. So, looks good. Matchday 9. My head's all over the place today. All right, let's go through the other questions and whiz through them. I think there are some more super chats, though, that I need to get through. And indeed there are. Thank you, Julie. Why Julian instead of Lautaro? So just to be very clear, what you see on screen is my first draft, and earlier I showed you some team selection graphics which indicates my sort of updated team, and I will be locking in fairly soon, but I think with Lautaro Martinez, for example, and I mentioned this a few times today, I think Inter Milan will rotate quite heavily. That's what Sky Sports Italia have indicated, and they're usually very reliable when it comes to the Inter Milan predicted lineup. So, yeah, with Lautaro Martinez, I just don't have the confidence he will start, and Julian Alvarez at least will have that in his favour. So earlier, just a few minutes ago, I was asked, who would you pick from those two? And I said, if I knew that he would start, then Lautaro Martinez is my slight preference there, but I don't have that knowledge or that guarantee. So that's why Alvarez would be slightly ahead in the pecking order right now. Arda Güler or Nemecha? Interesting one. I think Güler is a solid shout, but Nemecha for me. He's been more consistent, ball recoveries, goals from outside the box, which is a very unique feature of UCL Fantasy. So yeah, Nemecha's the one. Why Bacho? I'm looking to go for a second PSG midfielder like Kvaratskhelia. So Bacho, Hakimi, yeah, they're very enticing, but I think Monaco could score in Matchday 9, and I'm looking to restructure my squad anyway, so it won't be Bacho or Hakimi, most likely in my final squad. Instead, I'll go for Kvaratskhelia. That's the current plan. Thank you to Haribo, a legend of the UCL Fantasy community. Hi Dylan, do we know if DeMarco starts? No, we don't, but based on the reports I've seen, and I'll go through it one more time as well, if anything, it's more likely he won't start and that he'll be on the bench. Should I replace with Bastoni? The problem with this is you would want DeMarco for Matchday 10, and Bastoni is one booking away from suspension. So there are some headaches here with this situation, but what I'm currently doing myself is actually having both of them. I've got DeMarco, and I'm planning to maybe even leave him on the bench unless my defense is terrible today. And he can still do something off the bench against Bodo Glimt, but it wouldn't be ideal, right? Because for a defender, the sort of bulk of the points will be starting the game and having the clean sheet. And you're not going to get that from DeMarco based on the recent reports. So yeah, there are some risks. And unfortunately, a lot of the best defenders on paper, like Bensabani, Nuno Mendes, Byrne, Chow, and Bastoni, are all suspension risks. One more yellow and they'll miss the next game. So it's not ideal, but I prefer DeMarco over both legs compared to Bastoni, to be honest, if I had to pick one. What do you think of Pavlidis as a differential? So he's certainly worth highlighting. He was great in UCL Fantasy last season, so I like that shout. But to be honest with you, he is kind of low down in my forwards list because Mbappe's top by some distance, Dembele second, and then it's between Alvarez, Lautaro Martinez, Guirassy and Osimhen for that third spot. And then I think the likes of Paredes would enter the equation. Voltemada could be quite decent, especially this week as a one match day punt. But yeah, I think over both legs, Paredes is probably a bit lower down. What does raise his appeal now for the upcoming deadline is the fact he's at home. And we saw him return against Real Madrid back in matchday 8 just a few weeks ago. So good differential. He's a proven goal scorer in the Champions League, but there are probably 6 forwards at least that I prefer. Yeah, Mbappe will start. No concerns about that whatsoever. As talked about in my recent videos, he was on the bench against Real Sociedad to give him a rest because essentially he was playing through pain recently, but he was always going to be prepped for this Benfica game, and Vinicius scored 2 penalties in his absence. Ryerson will play as a centre-back instead of right wing-back today. Yeah, if you have a link to that, then be sure to let me know, but I did cover some Dortmund lineups earlier where maybe that was already highlighted anyway, but it is worth going through again. So let's see if I've got a few things to show you. I did close a lot of the tabs anyway. My shouts are Bruges and Boda get a result this week. I think that's a very good shout because Inter Milan could rotate quite heavily. So yeah, the Norwegian side could get a result there. And I think Club Bruges are capable of beating Atletico Madrid both home and away. So yeah, I think that is definitely plausible. Bissek for DeMarco. Bissek could also be benched. I haven't seen any lineup with Bissek in there, so I wouldn't go for him. I was thinking a bit differently yesterday, but that was before I saw these lineups and rumours. So yeah, things change, and that's why it's worth tuning into the deadline stream whenever possible. Alvarez or Osimhen? For matchday 9 only, it'd be Osimhen, but what I'd probably consider is picking the Nigerian now and then going to Alvarez in matchday 10. Hey Dylan, McKennie versus Stankovic and Bacho Ryerson. I'd go for McKennie and Bacho. Ben Sabani is a good DeMarco replacement. Yes, but he's also a suspension risk. And for matchday 10, if Schlotterbeck and Sula are available, then we could see Ben Sabani drop down to the bench again. I'm starting Barnes over Gordon. Well, remember, you make substitutions in UCL Fantasy. So if you have both of them, you don't need to start one and bench the other. Start your Tuesday players first, and then bring off your lowest scoring players for those yet to play on the Wednesday. And to be honest with you, I think Gordon is a better option. 6 goals in the Champions League this season, and Barnes has been terrible across all competitions in the last couple of matches. Dembele is a serious doubt, isn't he? Not necessarily. And I covered this already earlier. I'm not sure if you were the one who put a comment, but I did provide links to people who asked me in terms of members and patrons. But yeah, I'll go through that very soon again. I think we have new people joining, so it's probably worth doing that one more time. So if you haven't done so already, join my UCL Fantasy Mini League. The code is SEINOF. There is an auto-join link in the description. And this is my set of predictions. So Karabag 0, Newcastle 2. That's for tomorrow. Oh yeah, I forgot the ones from the bottom. What an idiot. So yeah, let's start from the top then. Galatasaray 1, Juventus 1. Based on what I've seen just now, I might end up sticking with that, to be fair. Maybe a narrow Galatasaray win. Benfica 1, Real Madrid 2. Monaco 1, PSG 3, Karabag 0, Newcastle 2, Club Brugge 2, Atletico Madrid 1, Bodo Glimt 1, Inter 2. So as you can see, I've already been on the Club Brugge train, if you will, but no Stankovic in my team. So let's refresh this poll as well. Alvarez is top with 33% of the votes in terms of the best forward amongst these 4 options. Lautaro Martinez is second, Guirassy is third, and Osimhen is fourth, but it's a very balanced poll overall. So this lineup, of course, ended up being true by Sky Sports Italia. McKennie is playing up front. This is the predicted lineup for PSG, and every single one on UEFA.com by L'Equipe and also Le Parisien have the exact same lineup. Safonov in goal, Nuno Mendes, Bacho, Marquinhos and Hakimi, Vitinha, João Neves and Zaire Emery, Barcola, Dembele and Kvaratskhelia. So essentially what we got over the last day or so is that Dembele felt good in training yesterday. He felt no discomfort and he is in pole position to start up front with Desiree Doué dropping to the bench. So obviously we can forget Galatasaray Juventus. We have already covered that. So, for Monaco PSG, as you can see here, UEFA.com's prediction is the exact same lineup as I just showed you by Le Parisien. And for Real Madrid, Mbappe is poised to start once more. For Borussia Dortmund, Ben Sebaini would be... Yeah, I think that's a good point, by the way. Someone did mention Ryerson would be at right centre-back, potentially. So we could see that happen as well. Yeah, that's definitely a shout. Joe Bellingham is in this lineup, by the way, contrary to what I said earlier. But yeah, Jude Bellingham, for those that are unaware, he is injured. So yeah, that's worth highlighting. And also, both Svensson and Ryerson are available. They're not suspended, as I said yesterday, but all the other information is correct. With Inter Milan, though, we got updates today that Calhanoglu and Fratesi are out of the squad, so they won't feature in Matchday 9. So for Newcastle, both Byrne and Chow are expected to start, and the same goes for Gordon and Barnes. So no Voltemada in this predicted lineup, and I wouldn't be too surprised if that's the case. So for Olympiacos Leverkusen, yeah, kind of a similar story here as well. Grimaldo is by far the best option overall. And as you can see here, UEFA still have the likes of DeMarco starting, but I don't think that's going to be the case based on what I saw from Sky Sports Italia. And hopefully we do get like a confirmed lineup from them, because I only saw like a piece about potential rotation by their manager. And for Atletico Madrid, no real surprises there. Lookman and Alvarez are definitely the standouts when it comes to Atletico players. I wouldn't go for their defenders right now, and it has been a few years since they were solid defensively, in my opinion. So I'm going to put this link one more time in the live chat, and we have another super chat in the building, I believe. Thank you to Marcin. Thoughts on Zielinski? He's on fire recently, and he's going to take the place of Calhanoglu, so that's a very good shout. I do like that pick. I'll be honest, before the Calhanoglu news, it's not something I would have recommended to people, but yeah, he's got 2 goals in the last 3 matches, and in fact, if you sort of look back to the last 5, he scored a penalty against Pisa. So yeah, 3 goals out of the last 5 matches. Looks good. And he's showing great form in general with his overall performances. So that could be a massive underrated shout in terms of midfielders with very low ownership. I think it's probably 0% at this point. Definitely under 1. So yeah, that is a really good suggestion there. His ownership is 1%. 25 points so far. Yeah, I think he will start against Bodo Glimt tomorrow. So I like that. And as a like-for-like Calhanoglu replacement, that could work fairly well. Yeah, someone should start, as far as I'm aware, to be fair. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but yeah, I think Sommer will get the nod. And just for reference one more time, this is the Galatasaray and Juventus lineups. So for Galatasaray, Çakir in goal, Shalai, Sanchez, Bardakci, Jakobs, Torreira, Gabriel Sara, Yilmaz, Akgun, Noah Lang, and Osimhen. And for Juventus, Di Gregorio, Cambiaso, Kelly, Bremer, Kalulu, Koopmeiners, Locatelli, Thuram, Yildiz, Conceição, and McKennie up front. So Openda is on the bench. So I'm going to have this ready as well. Yeah, so I want to show you some of the changes I've made, or that I want to make, in this section here. So Courtois and Pope, I think at this stage, the only doubt for me would be Pope or Sommer. With DeMarco, it is an uncomfortable situation because he could be benched, and I'll keep an eye out for Sky Sports Italia. Hopefully I've got something in there as well. But yeah. Let's see. I don't see anything from Inter Milan at the moment. I think Bastoni and Chivu are doing their press conference right now. So this is an update on Calhanoglu. The medical staff is telling me he should be back next week. It's normal fatigue after returning from his injury. I trust their expertise and what the player tells me. So yeah, Calhanoglu could be available for match day 10. Zielinski could be a nice 1 match day punt, but maybe not more than that based on that update. So yeah, I haven't seen the usual Sky Sports Italia 11, which would be very handy in a week like this, but I'll keep the page open and also keep you posted if anything changes. Okay, just sorting out some things here and checking some updates on X, and I don't see anything at the moment. Yeah, nothing at the moment. Let's see if that works. Yeah, so nothing at the moment. Okay, so some changes. DeMarco, this defensive line. Yeah, I think Burn versus Chow. That would be one of those possible tweaks. Nothing too crazy there. Yeah, I think with the midfield, Barnes would make way. And maybe I'll regret that in the end. And also Bacho. And it does remove that second PSG defender. Hakimi as well would have been an option, but yeah, let's get rid of that. And Kvaratskhelia would come into the midfield. I'm very confident of that pick. And then to replace Alvarez, it could be either Guirassy or Osimhen. I think they're the most likely. And then 6.5 million to spend. And that's where Bastoni could come into play. So I've got double ups in the Inter-Newcastle defences. And a triple up in the PSG attack. 2 midfielders. And 2 Real Madrid attackers as well. The rest is quite balanced, but that is what I'm looking at the moment. And it would leave me with 1.1 million in the bank. So yeah, will summer start? Yes, as I covered before, just to make that very clear. If Dembele plays, Vitinha loses penalties, so then maybe Kvaratskhelia more or a better attacking option. I still think Vitinha is a good choice though. He has 3 goals from outside the box this season, just like Nemecha and a handful of other players. And yeah, Vitinha has many routes to points with ball recoveries and player of the match awards. So whilst Kvaratskhelia might be better for these 2 matches coming up against Monaco, I still think Vitinha is the best overall option in the midfield. He's very consistent. Yeah, DeMarco will not start. I don't think so as well. Is Vinicius a lock? No, but he's showing good form and he scored 2 penalties over the weekend. And when Mbappe isn't on the pitch, which is quite rare to be honest, Vinicius will have those duties. Best 5th defender, I have the same defense as you. In isolation, it'd be one of Hakimi or William Bacho, but I've currently got Bastoni just to cover that into defense and keep DeMarco for Matchday 10 to prevent that transfer. But look, to be quite honest with you, I'm still open-minded to selling DeMarco for now and then going back to him and using one of those 2 free transfers to bolster my 50-man squad. So I'm probably going to have like 2 different squads side by side. I want to see what you lot think, but yeah, DeMarco, for example, yeah, he could make way here. So here, DeMarco out. I think what I'll probably do, though, is at least have these transfers go through and then sort my bench that way. So Alvarez, Bacho, Burn, Barnes out for Guirassy, Bastoni, Chow, and Kvaratskhelia. Nothing groundbreaking there. and just ensure all your Tuesday players are starting. So Kvaratskhelia would come in, and then I can just bench any Wednesday player. In this case, it could be Anthony Gordon. Mbappe captain, and that looks pretty decent, but still not perfect. Still a few things to iron out. So yeah, we can close this one here and go back to the transfer section and see. Okay, so in terms of like alternatives, I'll probably have that as well ready. So just so you can see the full pool of players I'm looking at. So instead of Pope, it'd be Sommer. Maybe instead of Kvaratskhelia, I can go for Nemecha. And then Garassi to Osimhen. I could also go for Hakimi or Bacho instead of DeMarco. I think with the rest, I'm quite happy with it. Maybe Burn over Chow if I want to be a little bit extra, but yeah, that looks pretty decent. So those are the kind of differences I'm looking at, really. But yeah, it's not really much in it, to be honest. So let me know your thoughts in the live chat. Which team do you prefer? I think it's quite close, but maybe the poll would suggest otherwise. So let's do this poll, and also a few more super chats to get through. I'll be doing that very soon. So yeah, with all the Dembele questions, I've been quite clear on that. Dembele's in most predicted lineups, if not all of them, actually. Doué's the one who's probably going to miss out. So yeah, I think Dembele will start. Okay, so just to make this clear, this is Team A, which is my current squad at the moment, and this is going to be Team B with a few changes here and there. I mean, instead of Nemecha, if I wanted to be a little bit different, Harvey Barnes would be one option, Stankovic as well. That wouldn't be too shabby. But, yeah, I think Stankovic would probably be the most appealing. So yeah, there's not really much in it, as you can see. One change in every single position. Even Burn versus Chow is pretty interchangeable. There's not too much in there. So let's see what you lot think, and I'll get to the super chats as well. But Team A has Courtois and Pope, Nuno Mendes, Bastoni, Grimaldo, DeMarco, Chow, Vinicius Jr., Lookman, Vitinha, Kvaratskhelia, Gordon, Dembele, Garassi, and Mbappe. And then for this squad, Team B, Courtois would still be in there. The same goes for Nuno Mendes, Bastoni, Grimaldo, Vinicius, Lookman, Vitinha, Gordon, Mbappe, Dembele. But the changes are Sommer, Hakimi, Burn, Stankovic or Nemecha alongside Osimhen. So let's see what the people vote for. I'd mix A and B. Yeah, that's fair enough. Doesn't make it particularly easy, but yeah, I could see that. Why not Burn? Javier, to be honest with you, mate, when I go for Burn, people say, why not Chow? You just can't have them all, right? But they're both suspension risks, one more yellow, and they'll miss the next game. And to be quite honest with you, I think Burn has been better in UCL Fantasy this season, but Chow has shown a lot of signs in the Premier League of the goal-scoring threat from set pieces, and I think Dan Burn isn't that great when it comes to those set pieces, actually, despite his height. But why no McKennie? You can't have them all. And in the midfield, I'd rather have Kvaratskhelia if possible, and the other four midfielders are quite locked in for me anyway. Why selling DeMarco? Because as covered before, well, just for one, I haven't sold him yet, and I'm not saying I'm going to sell him. I'm just saying it's a possibility. But it's because there are rumours that he's going to be benched, and they're quite strong ones. They're not just a random person saying it. They're reliable sources, actually. So, yeah, that's why. Okay, let's get the chat back up. And let me try and get the super chats finally, because I've lost them in the sea of messages, so give me a second. So we do have over 1,300 people watching. Let's get the likes up and also subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. I've gone through plenty of questions and there will be even more covered soon. Stankovic or Vanaken? It would be Stankovic. Nihal says, Nuno versus Hakimi. It is Nuno for me. He's been far better this season. The only thing that could tip it in Hakimi's favour is the fact that Nuno is 1 yellow card away from suspension. Definitely Gordon over Nemecha for me. And with the last one, it's close. But Osimhen is probably my preference for matchday 9. And you can always switch to Alvarez for the second leg. Captaining Nuno Mendes for the hell of it. Fair enough. If Mbappe was playing tomorrow, I'd probably say go for it. But because we don't have that sort of caliber of player from tomorrow's matches, I think Gordon's probably the best on paper. I'm a bit less keen on going differential with the captaincy, but I'm very bullish on Dembele, right? So I think from that perspective, it would be different. But with Nuno Mendes, I think Monaco could score. And that's another reason why I've gone away from the double up in the PSG defence. But maybe I'm wrong about that, to be fair. Oh, yeah, it's not. Okay. Any good defender for today? Ben Sabani's decent. Ryerson's showing great form, but I think Atalanta will still score, to be honest. So really, it's just going to be the PSG ones who are the best on paper. Nuno Mendes, Hakimi, and Bacho. Even picking two of them is fine, but as I said before, I could see Monaco scoring. I've gone for 3-1 in my scoreline predictions, so it's not exactly, yeah, ideal. Yeah. Yeah, Bastoni and Byrne risk from yellow card suspension. Yeah, but so's Chow. Ben Sabani's a suspension risk. Nuno Mendes is a suspension risk. A lot of them are in the defence, so in that case, I would just be picking players for the sake of it. And yeah, Hakimi would be a safer option from that perspective, and Bacho too, but a lot of the best options from these respective teams defensively are 1 yellow card away from that suspension. Whereas DeMarco, I mean, this is literally an alternative teammate. DeMarco is in my team, and as mentioned multiple times, yeah, he's possibly going to be benched tomorrow. And that's what the rumours are saying. So that's why he's potentially on the chopping block. I'm not saying I'm definitely selling him. Okay. Let's see. Okay, so let's see what the poll is saying. Remember, this is Team A, what you see now, which is my current team, and this is Team B. What I might end up doing is merging it a little bit, but I'm very bullish on Kvaratskhelia, for example, and Dembele, and a lot of people won't have both of them together, especially alongside Vitinha. But yeah, I think there are plenty of options in some of these positions, and with the Inter Milan rotation and the suspension risks, there are a few spanners in the work. In the works, yeah. Lautaro is good too. He has a super differential, but Inter Milan could rotate heavily. Why is Akanji not on your team? Basically, anything about an Inter Milan player is going to be a similar sort of answer because they could rotate extensively tomorrow, and Akanji is not in some of the predicted lineups I've seen. So that's the simple answer. Vitinha or Kvaratskhelia? For both of the knockout phase playoffs, I would be tempted to say Kvaratskhelia, to be fair. Vitinha is the better option overall, more consistent and reliable, but I think for matchday 9 and 10, I would take a punt on Kvaratskhelia, which is what I'm currently doing. And yeah, I'm not that keen to get rid of him, let's say. Why not do Pope and DeMarco to Summer and Burn? That has crossed my mind, to be fair. That's not a bad shout, but yeah, it's not really too much in it. And I'd probably want DeMarco back very soon. Yeah, Dembele is expected to start. I've covered that extensively. Kvaratskhelia should start as well. Doué is the one who's going to be benched, it looks like. Bensebaini or Bastoni. Is Bensebaini on pens? Yes, he is. And from those two, it's still Bastoni for me. They're both going to miss the next game if booked. So, yeah, it's not looking too great there. Why people thinking Stankovic is a good ad? Because he had double-digit returns in the last 2 match days. And I think for Club Brugge, a win against Atletico is possible. I'm not going for him for sure, by the way. He's just an alternative pick in the midfield. Vitinha or McKennie? Yeah, Vitinha. So yeah, a lot of these have been covered already. I'm not sure what the chat is doing right now. It's not showing the ones I've highlighted already. So yeah, let's go for new ones. Oh yeah, they're actually being spammed probably. I think that's why. Who is on penalties for Juventus? That's a good question. I'm pretty sure Yildiz would be on penalties here. But I do have a list of the penalty takers with me, so let me refer to that. Okay, so I have seen another Real Madrid lineup, by the way, and it's pretty much what I discussed earlier. So Courtois, Carreras, Hausen, Rudiger, Trent, Arda Güler, Tchouameni, Valverde, Camavinga, Vinicius. So, yeah, for Club Brugge, there's an update. Carlos Forbes is not trained today. So that could be a big blow for Club Brugge against Atletico. Let's see if I can find the penalty takers. So I can just go through all of them one by one. I don't actually see the penalty takers here. Yeah, I'll get back to you on that one. Hopefully I can have the full list soon, but yeah. Let's go. Yeah, Dan Burns should play. I've been asked that a few times. I'm not sure why. Choose one Madrid defender. Trent. Nick Pope, good pick. Yes, but it's between him and Sommer for my second goalkeeper. Safonov will start for PSG. Hey, Dylan, Stankovic or McKennie? McKennie. Why Bastoni over DeMarco? Because DeMarco might not play tomorrow, as covered multiple times, I'm not going to lie. Yeah, I think McKennie over Stankovic is a good shout, and I've been quite bullish on McKennie all week, as you probably know by now. So that would be an alternative pick in the midfield. But yeah, of course, I do have him and Osman simultaneously. They could return in the same game, of course, but yeah, it's not something you traditionally want to do by default. Guirassy or Osimhen? I'm leaning towards Guirassy right now. Bissek or Bastoni? Bissek might not start, so probably Bastoni. Why not Doué? Because Luis Enrique probably is going to bench him. He can't start all of them. Bastoni's a shameful clown. That's a bit harsh. I think he's a good defender. But yeah, he has had some controversy recently. Yildiz took the last pen and missed. Yeah, good shout. Yeah, I'm not sure who would take them instead of Yildiz at the moment. I mean, could it be McKennie? Usually it's Vlahovic, but he's injured for the next couple of weeks to months. Which team are you going with? Well, what you see on screen at the moment, right? But it's not locked in, and I wouldn't suggest copying, to be honest. Yildiz or Gordon? Gordon, Trent, not bad, but I think with Real Madrid, I'm just going to go for Courtois. Hakimi and Oblak or Nuno Mendes and Pope? Nuno and Pope, I don't like Atletico Madrid defensively. DeMarco might be benched. That's all I can really say at this point. I don't have any more information than that. And if you want, you can still stick with him or sell him for one match day and bring him back, but it's not ideal. He's in amazing form, 9 goal contributions in the last 5 matches, and yeah, it surprised me to see Inter Milan considering that many changes to their team tomorrow, but it's possible. Okay, so let's see how we're doing right now in terms of the likes and all that stuff. So yeah, let's get the likes up to 300 plus. It'd be greatly appreciated. And yeah, I've been going live for an hour and a half now, answering many questions and going through many bits of information and news, graphics. McKennie Yildiz, I'd go for McKennie right now. Better form. Chow or Burn, there's not much in it. I'm going for Chow at the moment. No Juve players, no. Why do you keep changing teams? It's pretty much what I discussed yesterday. And there's also some updates that we got. Like I said, with Inter Milan, they could be rotating heavily. So I'm reacting to that information as well. If I don't, then I'm just going to shoot myself in the foot. Bensabani or Ryerson? Probably Bensabani. He's on penalties. Bran or Nemecha? Nemecha. Ryerson or Bensabani? Bensabani. Dembele news. He should start. What if I get Bensabani for matchday 9 and trade him for DeMarco in 10? That could work. I was considering that myself as well, by the way, but yeah, I think Atalanta will score. Is Dembele available? Yes, he is. Lewis Hall's a good pick at 4.1 million. But that's the problem, though. The lack of ball recoveries. In terms of assists, yeah, he's the best Newcastle defender for that, but he hasn't really reached the heights of last season, especially until November or December of 2024 before he got injured. Trent against Badshaw. Badshaw, why the switch from Burn to Chow? There's not really much in it, but I just think Chow could be due a goal. There's really not much in there. Sky Sports Italia team update on Inter. Well, I don't have it with me, unless you're saying there is one, and then in that case I'd be happy to check and go through it with you, but I did have a look earlier a few times and there was nothing. So yeah. Yeah, still nothing. And I'm not sure if we're going to get it today. They were the ones who suggested that DeMarco could be benched and stuff like that, but they didn't have their traditional graphic with the starting 11. Not that I've seen anyway. Let's see. Yeah, still nothing. I'm also looking at different pages and not much in there. Chow, Burn or Bremer, just go for a Newcastle defender. Take a pick from those two. They're both suspension risks anyway. I'm going for Chow at the moment, but it could be either one. Why not Osimhen? Because you can't have them all. When I had Osimhen, people asked me why not Garassi, Alvarez or Lautaro. You just can't please everyone. Your opinion about Galatasaray goalkeeper? In the option of choosing DeMarco or Bastoni, who would you keep? Still DeMarco for me, because I think Bodo Glimt could score tomorrow, and you'd probably want DeMarco for matchday 10, where he should start. So yeah, DeMarco's my answer. Galatasaray goalkeeper, he's okay. He's been very impressive in the league phase, but against Juventus, yeah, clean sheet matchday 9 is possible, but over both legs, I still prefer Courtois for the Tuesday. ¿Por qué no Julián? Porque ya tengo a Lookman y creo que Club Brugge puede ganar mañana. Problem with DeMarco is not likely to get news before the game tomorrow, and then can change. Well, that's the reality of it, but I think what you probably do if you keep him is you either sub him on if your Tuesday players in the defense did pretty badly. Otherwise, you might take the luxury of leaving him on the bench anyway, but you need some good performances there. Trent or Chow? I'd go for Chow. Trent or Hakimi? Hakimi. Stankovic or Vanaken? Stankovic. Chow, Burn, Bremer covered. At the moment, I'm keeping DeMarco. It's not set in stone, though. Prediction for Galatasaray Juventus? 1-1. Which I showed you with Predict 6 earlier. I'll probably go for it after the deadline. I think Paladis will score tonight. He did it in matchday 8, so why not again? Yes, Dembele should start. Could Trippier be a shout? I would just go for Burn or Chow, but at least Trippier has no suspension risk, so good shout. It's not too bad. Hey mate, Burn, Chow, Bremer, covered a million times. Salute, no Lautaro, why? you can't have them all, is pretty much what I'm going to say here. Dembele and Mbappe are locked in for me in the forward line. Then it's between Lautaro, Alvarez, Guirassy, and Osimhen for the last striker. I'm not completely secure on that one, but yeah, Guirassy might be my matchday 9 punt, and then I move to Lautaro, Alvarez in matchday 10. Yildiz McKennie, also covered a few times. McKennie's my preference. Dembele comienza, C. Same team as you, Bosman instead of Guirassy. Schalke 04 fan and never a BVB player in my squad. Well, yeah, in that case, yeah, I go for something a bit different, but yeah, good luck, Luca. And that's a decent policy to have. Don't go for the enemy. Bastoni or Ryerson? Bastoni. Batshuayi, Hakimi to go with Nuno. Very close. Probably Hakimi. But Batshuayi's very consistent for ball recoveries, and you can't go wrong either way. I just don't think Hakimi's been great this season. Thuram rotation. Any Inter Milan player is capable of being rested tomorrow. That includes Sommer, although I think he will start. What about Howson? He's fine, but I've got Courtois already. I'm not doubling up on their defense. What about Trippier? Solid alternative to the suspension risk of Burn and Chow, so that's fine. Osimhen or Alvarez? For matchday 9, Osimhen. Chevalier's not playing. Safonov is the first choice goalkeeper at the moment. Bensabani and Dembele or Bacho and Lautaro? I would say Bensabani and Dembele. Why do you finally pick DeMarco? Yes, some of these questions are a bit strange, I'm not going to lie. So essentially, DeMarco will probably be benched tomorrow. That's what the reports are indicating. And I am open-minded to selling him at least for one match day and then booking in a transfer for match day 10, bringing DeMarco into my squad. But yeah, Inter Milan could rotate quite heavily tomorrow. Maybe it's something to throw off the opposition, but DeMarco is in need of a rest. Problem is, only have 5 players for tomorrow. Yeah, so let's look at my team in comparison. So I've got Courtois for today, Nuno Mendes, and that's pretty much it for the defense. That's not great. Vinicius, Vitinha, Kvaratskhelia, Mbappe, Guirassy, Dembele. So I've got 8 Tuesday players and 7 on the Wednesday. So yeah, a lot of my Wednesday, or a lot of my defenders are playing tomorrow, which isn't ideal, but yeah. If you've got 10 today and 5 tomorrow, it's not the end of the world. It's about the quality of players, most importantly, and the balance is always like a plus point. Why not Burn on DeMarco, Sommer, and Pope? Yeah, look, I'm open-minded to something like that, Theodora, so it's not a bad suggestion there. But I'd probably want to get DeMarco back for match day 10 anyway, and that's where Bastoni to DeMarco could work. Maybe that is the best play, but even with Burn, he's a suspension risk as well, so there's not really like a clear route, in my opinion, with the defense. Can't go to Newcastle defense if both suspension risks. It's, yeah, like I said, a very difficult situation, quite complex, and not really what you want. Own Gordon and Vitinha. Should I go Barnes or Kvaratskhelia? Kvaratskhelia. I'm very bullish on him. Okay, just having a look at any updates. I don't see anything at the moment, to be fair. Should I replace Guirassy with Dembele? I would say so. I like Dembele a lot. Something wrong with Hakimi? He hasn't been great this season. A lot of red cards, poor performances, but in UCL Fantasy he still has a few assists, and we know the capability of the player. In the Club World Cup and UCL Fantasy last season, he was amongst the very best players in the game. So that's why I still like him, but I think Monaco could score. No worries, Duncan. Where can we see the final team? This is currently my team. I can't guarantee it because there are a few moving parts, and with DeMarco, for example, he's in my squad, but he could be benched tomorrow, so that's why I'm open to making a late change. My recommendation to everyone watching is you can use this as a guide to bounce ideas, but it's not really worth copying someone because you're always going to be one step behind the person you're copying. Okay, so we do have less than 80 minutes. No, less than 18 minutes. What am I saying? I wish it was a 6 p.m. deadline. We don't have that much time. So yeah, we only have a few minutes left. Let's be sure to lock things in. Osman or Garassi? I'm probably going to go for Garassi in the end. I probably think the Mecha might be a great starting option. I do like the Mecha. Yeah, I'm not sure why Harrison James, to be honest. I did check this before going live. Wait, what? Yeah, they're coming up on screen, by the way. So I think they are working. But yeah, this is my team here. Yeah, Ben Sabani is on penalties. I'd rather go for Gordon. Yeah, Gordon is the pick, and he's on penalties as well. Kvaratskhelia 4th PSG or differential with Nemecha. I'd go for Kvaratskhelia. The preference would be 8 to 9 Tuesday players and the rest playing on Wednesday. Is Nemecha a good pick, Dylan? Yeah, I think so. I've been talking about him all match day. Yeah, good Bensu. I'd recommend to everybody watching to lock in. Yeah. I went cheeky with Osman, Garassi, McKennie. I like all of those picks in isolation, so that's fine. McKennie's in great form and he's playing up front potentially. But yeah, I think, to be honest with you, despite the problem of DeMarco being benched tomorrow, I think I might just stick with this and have Courtois, Pope, Nuno Mendes, Bastoni, Grimaldo, DeMarco, and Chow, Vinicius, Lookman, Vitinha, Kvaratskhelia, Gordon, Dembele, Garassi, and Mbappe captain. I'm quite happy with that team. So it could be worse. I think that's probably the way I'm going to approach match day 9. So yeah, I think that's pretty much set for me. Yeah, no burn. It's very close between him and Chow. I've gone with 4 PSG, 3 Real Madrid, and 3 Dortmund. Too many eggs in too few baskets, but let's go. All the best there, Sydney, and yeah, I do like that. I think PSG are probably the best team to quadruple up on. Real Madrid is probably 2 to 3, and I've got the same 3 as you, I imagine. 3 Dortmund is interesting. I think with that one I'm less keen, but there we go. We are locked in. Yeah, I'm not sure why that happened. I think sometimes it has like a minor glitch throughout the stream, but yeah, there are times where it doesn't work altogether. Bacho or Kalulu? Bacho. Kvaratskhelia or Vitinha. For the knockout phase playoffs, Kvaratskhelia. Gordon and Barnes or Juve player? Gordon. Oh, the thing is, you've already got Gordon, right? So Barnes or Juve player? Yeah, it's going to be a Juve player, probably McKennie. So yeah, good luck to everyone. Thanks for letting me know the Nemecha pick, Dylan. Locked in now. He's very cheap. He's 5.9 million. Ball recoveries, goals from outside the box. Yeah, I think he offers great value. Good luck as well, Bensu. And also to Alejandro. Yeah, make subs. Yeah, well, in my case, I've got everything sorted, right? So Courtois is my Tuesday goalkeeper. Yeah, I'm fine with how I've ordered things, to be fair. So DeMarco, Chow, and Gordon all play tomorrow. And we do get the early kickoff between Karabag and Newcastle at 5:45 PM in the UK on Wednesday. So that's where you can lock in your final substitutions and the captaincy. But yeah, I've gone a bit boring with the armband Mbappe. Nothing spectacular there. But yeah, I'm quite happy with the squad overall. Obviously, DeMarco, I'm expecting to be benched tomorrow. It's locked in now. Time's up. I'm a gamble. I'm going for McKennie, captain. He's false 9 today. I'm not that appealed by him being a striker. What I like the most about McKennie is his recent form. He has returned in 4 consecutive Champions League games and also in recent Serie A matches. So that's what I like the most. What makes you sure that DeMarco plays in next week? They got no reason to do it. If they win today, he is much more needed for Serie A. Yeah, but you're assuming that Inter Milan have sealed the game already. The point really is just to give him a rest. And for him to be benched in 2 consecutive Champions League games seems unlikely to me. And I think Bodo Glimt could actually cause a surprise tomorrow. They could score and make things very cagey going into the second leg. So my prediction is for DeMarco to be benched tomorrow and to start match day 10. You make a good point. If they're winning by 3 or 4, then it could be a different story, but I don't think that'll be the case. Yeah, between McKennie and Kvaratskhelia, both solid choices, but my preference is Kvaratskhelia. Why the hell would Chivo bench DeMarco? Rotation, just to give him a rest. It's not because he's in bad form. 9 goal contributions in 5 games is incredible. But yeah, Thoughts on my team: Dembele, Mbappe, Alvarez, Yildiz, Gordon, Vitinha, Kvaratskhelia, Barnes, Trent, Mendes, Svensson, Chow, Byrne, Di Gregorio, and Sommer. Some really good picks in there, and it's good to be different, so I don't want to discourage people from going for something a bit left field. I'm just going to highlight the players I'm not too sure about. Di Gregorio is one of them. I think with the defensive line as well, Trent, I mean, you don't have Courtois, so that's fair enough. It's a different way of covering their defense, but I'm not so sure about Svensson. He's not in great form. The sort of better pick in terms of recent matches would have been Ryerson. At least that's what he's doing in the Bundesliga. Some really good assists and attacking output. But yeah, it's just worth bearing in mind that Mendes, Chow, Byrne are all suspension risks for you. And that could be slightly problematic for Matchday 10. So yeah, this is my final team, Duncan. But as I've said to everyone, I just don't recommend copying in general. It just isn't what I'd sort of highlight to people, and not really the purpose of the videos. Adeyemi, not for me, Ignacio. He has a high ceiling, but I think for Dortmund it's Guirassy, Nemecha, and maybe one defender like Ben Sebaini who could be on penalties, but yeah, with Adeyemi, I'm not really there yet. I made Dembele captain. If I were to go different and against Mbappe, it would have been Dembele. He is very close in the Kamsi list. This deadline went really quick, by the way. Like 2 hours, almost 2 hours that I've been going live. I just didn't expect that. Stay for the first Osimhen goal. I'd rather not because I sold him for Guirassy. Good luck as well to Lambi and to everybody else watching. McKennie captain. Nice. You don't have like a big hitter tomorrow, the sort of Haaland, Kane or Mbappe to fall back on, but I wish you the best. Yeah, we are aware. We are locked in. Good luck as well to Lucky himself and to Kuka too. A 10-minute team, says Abdullah. Not sure what you mean by that, but thank you. You can go with 4 players in one team. Yes, Native Faith. I made this a big point on all my videos, in the intros especially. You not only get the ability to pick 4 players per club, but you can also have unlimited transfers. Not now, but obviously before the Matchday 9 deadline. And you also get a 5 million increase to your budget. That doesn't mean you have 105 million squad value. But in my case, for example, I've got like 108.5. So it's quite ridiculous. And yeah, for Matchday 10, you'll get 2 free transfers. And then for Matchday 11, you get unlimited transfers once more. Yeah, Ben Sebaini is on penalties. I think Dembele will play. If he doesn't, I'd be quite gutted and also surprised. Good luck, Dylan. Please like and subscribe. Thank you, Johnny. As he says, drop a like even on your way out. And also hit the hype button, the share button, all that good stuff. And yeah, it has been a pleasure talking to all of you today. Went with McKennie over Nemecha last minute. Vitinha captain over Mbappe. I don't know. Yeah, I think McKennie over Nemecha is probably the right call. Vitinha captain is interesting, but he's very consistent. So you've definitely gone a little bit left field with the captaincy, but that isn't a bad thing necessarily. And if Mbappe has a quiet day, you might be onto something. Thank you, Harrison James. Cheers as always, and best of luck, everyone. Holy crap, I was 10 seconds too late. All year wasted. I wouldn't go that far. So what, did you have like your league phase team and then you were 10 seconds away from locking in your unlimited transfers? That's why I try to have something set up early on, just in case. And then, yeah, make last minute changes if needed. And that mainly comes from overthinking, but also from updates, like the DeMarco being benched tomorrow, which is a possibility. That's something that you have to adapt to. McKennie, Rice, and my big differentials, Dembele and Lookman, nice under 10%. I wonder if they still have 10% ownership, though. I'm going to refresh the page and we can go through that together. Let's also change the timer. There's no need for that anymore. Don't go anywhere. Okay. So still 0-0 between Galatasaray and Juventus. Maybe I'm being a bit too greedy. 1 in goals already, but just putting it out there. So Dembele has 6% ownership. I think that doubtful flag might be pretty nice, actually, because it puts people off from buying him. They're just like, oh, he must be injured. He's not going to play. So yeah, that is very nice indeed. Guirassy, 17% ownership. Mbappe, 73. Really, yeah, I think he could be easily 80% or more. So it's a bit lower than I expected. Kvaratskhelia, 16%. Nice. Vinicius, 23%. Lookman, 7%. So a few differentials in here. Not Vitinha, but yeah, that's not a surprise. Nuno Mendes, 56%. Bastoni, 14. Grimaldo, 23. Courtois, yeah, template, 25. Nick Pope, a little bit more differential. DeMarco's 19%. Chow is 6%. And then Gordon, 20%. So yeah, looking good. I'm very happy with this. And if it wasn't for that DeMarco benching rumour and Inter Milan mass rotation, I think I would have been quite settled on this from the get-go. And maybe instead of Bastoni, I would have gone for a different option, like Ben Sebaini. But the reason why I've got Bastoni in here is to ensure I've got Inter Milan defensive coverage, at least for the knockout phase playoffs. But yeah, just the sort of bad things about this team. I mean, Dembele's doubtful, but he should play, in my opinion. And in terms of suspension risks, I've got Bastoni, Chow, and Nuno Mendes. So that's quite annoying and also a concern. And I think Guirassy could become Alvarez or Lautaro in Matchday 10, to be fair. So what I'm going to do here is close this. Let's go for Predict 6. So Twister Parky asked me for my scoreline prediction. I went for 1-1 in that game. And in terms of like the individual breakdown, will there be a goal in the first half? I put yes. So far, no. What will the score be at half-time? 1-0 to Galatasaray. Will there be 4 goals or more in this match? I've said no. And will Osimhen score? I put yes. So for Benfica and Real Madrid, I've put 2-1 for Los Merengues. I've also gone for 3-1 PSG against Monaco. 2-0 Newcastle in the early kickoff tomorrow. 2-1 Club Brugge against Atletico Madrid. And currently, I've gone for 2-1 Inter Milan against Bodo Glimt. So, this was the poll I put out earlier. And yeah, the final winner was Alvarez, Lautaro Martinez in second. This was the predicted lineup for PSG. Every single one I've seen has Dembele starting and Doué on the bench. And I went for UEFA.com's predicted lineups, which is a very useful tool several times. A tool? What am I? Andy Tate? Andy Tate? Or, yeah. Andrew Tate, yeah, the Man United one, no, not the other one. You are nothing, you're a fool, and you're a waste of time. Good night. Don't know where that came from, but there you go. Yeah, Galatasaray Juventus lineups, obviously I went through a few times as well, so we can forget that for now. Predict 6, and close that. Let's go to quiz, and let's see if I can make myself look like a genius or a fool. I don't know why I even did this. So which Club Brugge players covered the most distance heading into the knockout phase first leg? Vanaken. Okay, nice start. Who is the current manager of Club Brugge? Yeah, I didn't know that, so I just guessed. Which Galatasaray player has represented Juventus in the past? Lemina. Okay, nice. Who is Benfica's top scorer this season heading into the knockout phase first leg? Ooh, I think it's Pavlidis. No, it's going to be Schlauderup, yeah. Who is Leverkusen's top scorer this season heading into the knockout phase first leg? I think this is a trick question. It's not Schick, is it? Yeah, I think it's Tillman. Who's the current manager of Galatasaray? Yeah, I'm not going to get that right. It's not Igor Tudor. It's not Ancelotti. It's a process of elimination. I can't even speak. It's the yeah, 50-50. Yeah, there you go. That I'd use the booster. I forgot to use the booster before. How many clean sheets have Atletico Madrid managed this season heading into the knockout phase first leg? Nah, it's like 0-1. Let's use this as well. Wait, 2 shots? Oh no, I shouldn't have used that. Wait, what? I was going to say 0. Who is Karabak's top scorer this season heading into the knockout phase first leg? Oh yes, Camilo Duran. Which Inter players completed the most passes heading into the knockout phase first leg? It's going to be one of the defenders, either Bastoni. Oh, I played the 2 shots booster already like an idiot. Yes, Bisek or Bastoni. Yeah, Bastoni. Well done. Who is Newcastle's top scorer this season? Yes, Anthony Gordon. Yeah, not great. Not great. I want to play again. Let's play again. Instead of watching the game, I'm playing quiz. It's fun. So, yeah. This question has been repeated. So, yeah, let's not get this wrong. Spuruk. Inter's top scorer, Lautaro Martinez. Which Club Brugge player? Okay, this question we got. So, that Vanaken, and I already knew that, I think. Which current Madrid player represented Benfica in the past? Carreras. Yeah, that one I knew. Who has won the most tackles for Atalanta heading into the knockout phase playoffs? Okay, I'm going to use 50-50. Edison or Kasunu? Yeah, Edison. There we go. Good start. Which Madrid players clocked the fastest top speed heading into the knockout phase first leg? Oh, surely it's Mbappe, but just in case, because it's like a trick question. There you go. I'm going to go for Eder Militao. No! Oh, yeah, bomb. Got 2 out of 4 wrong. That is terrible. How many goals has Mbappe scored in the last 3 Champions League matches? I said that stat earlier. It's 8. Yeah, nice. Who is Karabak's top scorer? Yeah, Camilo Duran. Which Inter players completed the most passes? That was Bastoni. And who is PSG's top scorer this season heading into the knockout phase first leg? That is Vitinha. Okay, that's much better. But yeah, that one that I got wrong is going to be a bit annoying. A bit annoying to say the least. But you're probably thinking, what about Galatasaray Juventus? It's still 0-0. So hopefully it stays that way. Actually, no. Hopefully it's 1-1 and random people score. Ciao to Bastoni, Sommer to Pope. Yeah, good ideas. It's just worth mentioning that both Ciao and Bastoni are suspension risks. Sommer and Pope, there's not really much in it, but I think Pope offers better value. 3 forwards on the same day. I did a similar thing, but it's not ideal. Yeah, but do you want to force a Wednesday striker just for the sake of it? I mean, Lautaro would be appealing, but he might be benched tomorrow. Voltemada, that could work as a one match day punt, but Newcastle could start Barnes and Gordon alongside Elanga up front. So, yeah, I'm not too bullish on Voltemada in general. So, yeah, my predictions: Juve Gala, Galatasaray, I should say, 1-1. 100% ball knowledge, Dylan. Technically 90% because I got one wrong, but thank you. I did get the other one not too great, but yeah, I think the pressure got to me. Give Dylan a like, everyone. Thanks as usual from Serbia. Thank you very much, Brian, and yeah, big up to the community like for your patience and yeah, for the deadline chaos as we usually get. And there were a lot of you in the chat, and it was a pleasure talking to all of you. Locked in, took a punt on Tillman. I wanted to target Olympiacos. Let's keep rising in the top 20k. Nice. Yeah, I think Tillman is probably the second best Leverkusen asset. You know my feelings on Grimaldo. UCL Fantasy feelings, just to be very clear about that. But yeah, hopefully differentials like that pay off because that's the most satisfying part of UCL Fantasy and all these fantasy football games in general, when you go for someone low-owned, who people aren't talking about, and they deliver. Yeah, Lautaro. So yeah, you are joining in on the quiz. Yeah, some good suggestions there. Yeah, Vitinha's got 5 goals, so that's why I knew he was the top scorer. Kvaratskhelia is, I think, second or third, to be fair, when it comes to the Champions League. I'm ranked 938, so I just covered the highest ownerships on players with best fixtures. No big differentials. Good luck, all. Great stuff, Underreal. That's a fantastic rank, and I wish I was there, like I was a few years ago. I think in a period of 3 seasons, I finished around that rank, but yeah, it's going to be a tough ask this time round, but yeah, I like having differentials like Dembele and Lookman. I think they could be key for me. But yeah, hopefully you stay in the top 1k there. Confirmed, Osimhen is faster than McKennie at a 100 million sprint based on what I just saw. They're both quite quick, but yeah, Osimhen is rapid. Good luck for this game, McDillan. My team is Osimhen, Mbappe, captain. Wait, is that... Oh, Osimhen's your captain. Okay, nice. Gordon, Vinicius, Nemecha, Kvaratskhelia, Nuno, Bacho, Byrne, and Courtois. Good luck. The same goes to you. Good squad. I like the look of it. And I was very bullish on Bacho, but in the end I went for Kvaratskhelia. Mbappe, Dembele, Lautaro. It's a great front line on paper. I'm just a bit wary about Lautaro starting tomorrow. Good luck as well, Zodiac. Johnny says, bust team. Yeah, what I might do is... oh, there's a goal. It's probably Osimhen, isn't it? Okay, Serra. Gabriel Serra and Torreira were the ones involved in the goal. It's not Osimhen. That's all I care about. I want him to black now. No offense to anyone who does have him, but... yeah, this is my bus team. So you're going to see an early preview of how I over-tinker. Yeah, am I even tinkering? No, not really. I'm just setting things up. All right, so Pope would be the Tuesday goalkeeper next week. So Pope in for Courtois. Let's put in DeMarco, who should start, right? Never a guarantee. And I'd go for a back 4 here. So then one of these midfielders would be benched. It just could be Kvaratskhelia, not a big deal. And I'd also go for Gordon. And yeah, it's probably going to be for one of the strikers. Let's say Garassi. So that looks pretty good. And the Tuesday captain here would be Gordon. that's my initial thoughts for Matchday 10. But yeah, Matchday 9 has barely gone underway. And Galatasaray have taken an early lead through Gabriel Serra, Torreira with the assist, both holding midfielders combining there. So yeah, that's looking pretty decent, if I may say so myself. But this is my current squad. Oh, Juventus have equalised already. Don't say it's McKennie. It's Cup Miners. This is literally what I wanted. 1-1 draw, random people. But then again, I don't know who got the assist. So yeah, that will also play a part. So I will find out soon who got the assist. It was Kalulu. I'll take that all day long. All right, let's play quiz again. Let's play quiz again and go through some questions. Yeah, let's play again. Let's see if I can get 100%. How many clean sheets has Sommer kept? Not that many. Well, to be fair, that's not true. 4. Yeah, nice. Which Ballon d'Or winner has played for both Paris and Monaco? Yeah, it's George Weah. Who's the current manager of Paris? Yeah, Luis Enrique. How many clean sheets has Oblak kept this season? Oh, yeah, this is the one where I could have... I think it might be 0, you know? Yes, 0. Atletico have been terrible. How many goals have Atletico scored this season heading into the knockout phase playoffs? 17. Okay, nice. Which Inter players completed the most passes? I've seen this one before. I've answered it a few times. Which player in the current Dortmund squad has the most Champions League goals of all time? Garassi, Brown, Adeyemi, Sabitzer. Come on, Garassi, don't let me down. Yeah, you're in my team. Who is Olympiacos' top scorer this season heading into the knockout phase playoff? Ooh, I think it's Gelson Martins. Yes, he was my recommended player. Who is the current manager of Dortmund? Yeah, Niko Kovac, formerly of Bayern Munich. Who is the current manager of Club Brugge? Oh yeah, I don't know this one. Let's go for the 50-50. I think I used this before. Philip Clement or Ivan Lenko? Oh, I think it's Ivan Lenko, yeah. Okay, there you go. I finally got 100%. A few of them were repeats though, so I'm not going to shamelessly claim that as a victory, but I'll take it. Decent leaderboard ranking. Wow, so 9,000 people got 100% in quicker time, so yeah, this game's quite fun. So yeah, there you go. Quiz, I'm playing it more often, and let me know what you think. It's definitely worth having a look. The same goes for the bracket and also Predict 6, which I've played for years now and always shown throughout my streams. How many points do you have on Predict 6? I'll be honest, I don't know how many. Yeah, thank you, Lambie. Yeah, Clement is the manager of Norwich City. Yeah, Philip Clement. Yeah, I do know about him. I've seen him manage before, but I wasn't 100% sure, so I used the 50-50 like a cheat. Yeah, exactly that, Twisted Parky. Good watch thus far. Cambiasso yellow, so he's suspended next game week. Yeah, I think we could have a few key players suspended for Matchday 10, mainly in that defense. Hello says, oh my god, immediate reply. Which one was this for? Was this for Atletico or something? There goes my Juve clean sheet. Yeah, not ideal for those with those Juve players and Galatasaray options there. Just Barky says, my team, Osimhen, Mbappe, Alvarez, Vinicius, Lookman, Vitinha, Kvaratskhelia, Mendes, Bacho, Bensabani, Courtois, Sommer, Chow, Grimaldo, and Gordon. Looks solid, and all you really have to hope for from the early kickoff is that Osimhen scores 1 goal, and that gives him a great chance of player of the match. One of the ones I probably should have changed was Alvarez, but I can pick Alvarez or Gordon tomorrow. Yeah, I think with Alvarez, I still like him across both legs, but I think Club Brugge could get the win tomorrow. So that's why I sort of avoided him, and I stuck with Lookman as my only Atletico player. I've gone for Galatasaray Juve 1-1. So far, we're doing quite well there. Benfica 1, Real Madrid 2. Dortmund 3, Atalanta 1. Monaco 1, PSG 1. Yeah, I've gone for 3-1 there, and I'm hoping that the PSG can get a big win. Karabag 0, Newcastle 3. Bodo 0, Inter 3, but might change. Yeah, I think so, especially with the rumours of rotation. Club Brugge 2, Atletico 2. Yeah, I think a draw's a good shout. Olympiacos 2, Leverkusen 0. That was the scoreline when they faced in the league phase earlier this season. I think Olympiacos are capable of getting another win there. But I think Leverkusen will score this time. Thank you as well to Kuko. Good luck as well. Sarah goal. He's a bit of a baller, says Harrison James. Yeah, it was a very quick equalizer. Oh, okay. So when Hello said immediate reply, he's talking about Galatasaray, Juventus, not me. Look at me. Koopmeiners equalizer, yeah. What a savage match. Galatasaray against Juventus. For a second, I thought you said gal, as in like another way of saying girl. Lululu assist. Kalulu, mate. Cheers, Dylan. Gotta go. No worries, John. Thank you for tuning in. Surely there'll be more goals. Well, I expected 1-1, but not this early. So, yeah, I think it's quite natural to anticipate more goals at this stage. Random people indeed. From a UCL fantasy perspective, they're good players, but yeah, not many people have them. Of course, Kalulu gets another assist after I sold him. Classic fantasy. But at least he conceded, and he's probably capped at 4 to 5 points unless he does a down burn and gets player of the match. And I benched him in match day 8, but let's not talk about that. Club Brugge, Monaco, Glasgow, Rangers, and now Norwich. Yes, impressive set of teams there. Also had Kalulu before, says Oogie Boogie. Yeah, you see, you're not the only one. I think that could be frustrating as well. When you have a differential, they don't deliver, you sell them, and then they do well. One of my prime examples over the years was Pascal Gross in FPL, because I had him for like 3 weeks and he was complete crap, and I sold him, and he went on like a 5 to 8 game run, and he returned in every single game, getting maximum bonus points, and I'm like, nah, I hate this guy. I was referring to Juventus's immediate reply. Exactly, yeah. I was just being selfish there, my bad. Hey, Dylan came late, made a quick team, 4 PSG, 3 Dortmund, Pavlidis and Tillman as differentials. Yeah, Pavlidis is good, and I like Tillman. I highlighted him as the second best Leverkusen asset. I'm not sure about triple up in Dortmund. I think 1 is probably, maybe 2, but I think 3 is probably a bit too much for me. I could see Atalanta scoring in both match days, but yeah, I can understand Garassi and Nemecha as UCL fantasy choices. Michele, yeah, he is pretty decent. He scored earlier this season, I think against Kara Almaty. And I think over the years, he has had some good returns in UCL fantasy too. I ended up on 3 players at risk of suspension. Yeah, I've got a very similar 3. Instead of Burn, I've got Bastoni. So a lot of defender risks when it comes to bookings and suspensions. Oogie Boogie says, I have 2-1 to Galatasaray, home advantage. Yeah, that's why if there were to be a winner today, I think Galatasaray would edge it for me. 2-1 would definitely be a shout, that's for sure. So thanks everyone. It has been a pleasure talking to all of you for the past couple of hours. If you haven't done so already, like this stream, subscribe to the channel, and also the notification bell so you're always up to date on my content, both UCL Fantasy and FPL. Click the hype button, share this as well with those that love fantasy football, and check out my Twitter, Instagram, and Blue Sky, Dylan RCM. There's also my Discord server, the UCL Fantasy League, and Spotify in the description. Leave a 5-star review as well. It goes a long way to supporting the channel. And you can also become a patron or a channel member for early access to my videos, prior to comments, amongst many other perks. Lambie says Michele and Vanaken are very good in Belgian competition in Belgian fantasy. Yes, I think it's not too much of a surprise there because in UCL fantasy, those are 2 players I've mentioned, but my favourite one is Stankovic right now with his recent form. And we saw massive returns in matchday 7 and 8 from him. So, yeah, I think Vanaken and Michele would also be worth adding to the watch list. I think with Club Brugge as well, probably 1 asset, maybe 2 at a push, but a win against Atletico is definitely on the cards in matchday 9. I think that is one of my sort of surprise predictions, if you will. And look, Atletico are still worth covering. I think over both legs, they still have enough to win. And that's why Lookman's in my squad. But it was enough for me to go away from Alvarez, who I still like a lot. You can't say you hate Pascal. I love him. I like him as a player. And also, when I first started fantasy football and I played Sky Sports Fantasy, Pascal Gross was one of my go-to players. But yeah, in FPL, there was just that period where I absolutely hated him. Yeah, funny how you say Michele. Michele. Yeah, let me double check the pronunciation. Michele. Michele. It sounds like machete when I say it. Michele pronunciation. Let's hear this. Let's get this right instead of having people laugh at my pronunciations.
Mechelen.
Oh, well, oh no, I put the wrong name. There's no N in there. What? Michelle? Michele. Really? Not sure about that one, Chief. I don't know what I've got myself into. I'm doing quiz and doing my best to get 100%, and I'm doing pronunciations. Michele. Michelle. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, maybe I overthought that one then. So yeah, people can give their thoughts in the live chat. You can see a live sort of rundown of how I pronounce certain names and prepare for them. That is interesting. Okay. Thanks for that. There's a city in Belgium, Mechelen. Yeah, you can look that up. It's pronounced the same just without the N. Mechelen. So, Mechele. Yeah, hopefully that works. I was told that, you know, these sorts of languages are easier. I'm not so sure. I mean, I'd never learned French, as you can probably tell at this point. So yeah, it is what it is. I know Belgium obviously speak 2 languages, but the less said about that, the better. Benzu says GG. Oogie Boogie, good luck as well. I love the effort. I'm trying. That's all I can do. Most of my pronunciations are pretty solid, but yeah, a few of them do need a bit of ironing up, that's for sure. All the best of luck to everyone watching for Matchday 9 and 10. I will be back next week with more content, and that's where the Limitless and Wildcard come back into play, the team selection as well, and another deadline stream with FPL content also on the horizon, the best Wildcard squad for Game Week 27, my team selection, and transfer tips highlighting 11 players to buy, hold, sell, and skip. And there could also be some unique categories as well, like a 1-week punt or someone to add to the watch list in the long term. So I'll see you very soon. The next stream will be this weekend for Fantasy Premier League, and all the best of luck there for both fantasy formats until the end of the season. I'll be covering them, of course. And let's continue the conversation on Discord, Twitter, Instagram, Blue Sky. Those links are in the description. But until then, let's get those green arrows and rise up the mini leagues and the rankings.